Welcome to the EST Hangout.
This is the EST Hangout, and today's guests are...
It's a game day, game one of the Western Conference Finals. Oilers and Stars coming up later tonight. Welcome to the EST Hangout, presented by Two Hoots Hard Ice Tea, a Boulder Real Brewed tea. Don't just give a hoot, give two. We're live on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Tune in, iHeartRadio, as well as those watching on YouTube. Matt Iwanyk, Tom Gazzola with you here, and joining us, it is Wil Fraser.
Hey, guys.
How are you?
I'm taking that home to my kid.
You could probably take that one home
He
soon.
turned 18 last
All right.
month. And,
Oh, did he?
or 2 months ago. And, yeah, he's the biggest disappointment when it comes to drinking I've ever seen.
In what way?
He just...
Because I was not, my parents, my brother
no,
and dad,
he's very much like you.
they tried to force me to go buy drinks when I turn 18. Like, I don't want to. I don't care.
Interest in it, but like
He'll get there.
Yeah, it's a 2-sip interest. Okay. That's it. But I think maybe
He might
I
like
could,
that one.
Yeah, exactly.
Quinn never had it yesterday. She tried it and she loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was one that wasn't big into drinking. Then in the early 20s, for one of my New Year's resolutions, it was to drink more.
Yeah.
And everyone does the other way. I did the.
I had a similar one where it was
And
like
it works.
1 year I was like,
And now I drink more.
I'm gonna play the lottery more.
Yeah.
I was like, I spend a
that
lot
works.
of time talking about what I would do if I won the lottery, but I don't spend a lot of time
Trying to
literally
win it.
playing the lottery. So
Can't win if you're not
exactly.
playing. So yeah, for me though, it's like everyone tries to be like, I'm going to cut alcohol out of my life. I was like, give me more.
Yeah.
I think I
And it's
remember
been great.
this.
It's been better.
I think I remember
Life
this.
has been more enjoyable.
Yes.
You were drunk. You don't remember.
That's very true. 20s. That's a blur.
Don't think my mom's too happy about that one when that one happened, but it's okay.
That's okay. Same
I've
with
got
my
the
mom.
Two Hoots now. I got the White Claws.
You know what
Red
works?
wine. Oh, it's
Just
delicious.
give her a grandchild.
She's got two.
I was going to say give her booze because that's what worked for my mom. Tell me you're drinking too
Yeah.
much. I'd be like, Mom, you want some wine? Okay.
Yeah, my parents aren't big drinkers. So they're not
teetotalers.
No, I'm the disappointment of the family now. Like family events happen and like no one drinks but me.
I've honestly,
So I drink by myself and I enjoy it, but
Yeah.
no one else is really taking part like I do.
it's kind of killed me, Maddie, and I'm sorry to do this to you. And I don't know where you want to go with this. I'm sure we will have different
the show?
direction with the show today.
You've been on this many times. There's no real direction.
But
we will get to game one. That's
I'm
about
worried
it.
how I'm
it
gonna
has
be put
killed
off by
me
this.
to wait until Thursday because I know you are one of the few people, and it's so sad that I had to rage at my wife. It wasn't her fault, but I had to rage at someone about the fact that Alexander Usyk became one of the greatest boxers of all time.
He's got all the belts.
And no one is talking about it because he's from Ukraine.
Is that no? That's not why. I don't think that's why they're not talking about it. The fight was at a weird time. It was a Saturday afternoon or something
because
here.
it's in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like I was sitting at Hudson's because it was game 6.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was at Hudson's while he was doing pregame. It wasn't on any of the TVs, and I was thinking I think this is about to start or something. I didn't know when it was, so I was having to follow it on socials. I just because usually before you'd have you knew it would be HBO pay-per-view or Showtime pay-per-view.
Yeah.
It'd be one of those two, but now it's I don't actually even know what it was on.
Like, I've been watching Usyk since he was a buzzsaw going through the welterweight division. Like, he was a late pro coming out of his amateur career. I think he started at 26. And so he didn't have that sort of that young up-and-comer buzz. But the guy is, when he was a welterweight, he was a pound for pound, the best boxer in the world. Faster, quicker, tactician, just ripped the hearts out of the guys that he fought against, right? And then to see him do what he's done, he didn't knock out some also ran.
No. But is Fury also now at a point though he's a little older, so he can't?
Well,
Fury's
always been his worst enemy, right? There's always going to be that question of how seriously is he taking this?
Fury?
Yeah.
Because he looks like he's not in great shape.
But
he also had problems before too.
But he's also one of those guys that
with addictions.
Watching that fight, that was the first time I've seen somebody be smarter than Fury in the ring. Tyson's Fury's greatest asset has always been his head.
Gotcha.
He's always been able to basically marshal people in the ring to wherever he wants them to be, let them exhaust themselves by throwing punches that don't land. And this was the first time that I saw that being played against him.
Well,
Like, he thought he could be cute and cheeky with Usyk, and Usyk beat him to the punch.
Well, he did that to him.
Yeah,
he pulled out
exactly.
the Fury move
Yeah,
on him.
That's right. Yeah. So it's amazing to me that like this is the first time that all 4 belts have been
By one person.
held by one person.
Yeah, as all the belts have been broken up and
Yeah.
we've had different divisions. This is the first one to have unified all the belts together.
Damn.
But he's going to lose it by the time they fight next time.
Yeah, because
one of the belts I think he loses because he hasn't defended.
He's supposed to defend against a specific person,
Okay.
and it would be a joke of a fight, and you can't get like right now. Alexander Usyk is somebody that it costs you a minimum of $80 million to get him in the ring, right? Like that's his number because that's what Tyson Fury's number was, right? So you're not going to go and defend one of the lower belts that you have against a guy that's not going to generate the payday that it requires
People
to get
aren't
you to
gonna watch.
step in the ring, right? So,
Well, it's also I think more of an indictment just where boxing is. Like you had Fury Wilder trilogy.
Right.
That got people back a little bit again, but then Wilder, what did he lose 2 and draw 1?
yeah.
I think that's how it went. And when Fury got up off that mat, it was still incredible. But then there wasn't a buzz around what's next.
Well,
there was Anthony Joshua.
Yeah, it was supposed to be a
him.
3-man race,
Yeah.
right? It was supposed to be Joshua, Wilder, Tyson Fury. And Anthony Joshua had a bad fight where he
Yes.
got knocked out by a guy he shouldn't have been knocked out by. And that sort of set that division back a little bit, set him back. Meanwhile, Tyson Fury has been a guy that has dodged competition.
Yeah.
Until the number is so overwhelming that he has no choice, right?
he goes in.
And then he goes in. But he's wasted time in that division. Meanwhile, Alexander Usyk, who does not fight at home. Like last time he fought in Ukraine was
Well,
in
he can't now.
2015. That was the last time he fought in there. So he's always been on enemy soil. All he's done is just rip through every division he's been in, taken down every competitor, and has fought hard fights. He took out Anthony Joshua twice,
Yeah.
right? Back to back and in quick succession. And he didn't wait, right? The only thing he waited for was Joshua to say, I'm ready to go again. And
He went.
It's, to me, it is the most least talked
easily.
about major story in sports right now. And it drives me crazy. And it's in part because he's not from the States. He's not from England.
He's not from a major.
He's not from Germany.
Top power,
right?
Well, but the Klitschko's got a lot of love. The Klitschko brothers got a lot of love.
It
And they were
took
from
them a
Ukraine.
long time.
Sure, but the Klitschko brothers got a lot of love when they were when they flipped. Like one was the best, and then the other took over. So maybe this is the moment he takes up. But again, back to where boxing is. Part of like what's going to be the biggest fight this year, media wise, attention wise.
Yeah, it's going to be YouTube stars.
Exactly. It's Tyson versus Paul.
Yeah.
That's going to be the biggest fight of the year, eyeball wise.
In North America.
You think not around the world?
I don't know about around the world. Like, people will be interested. They'll be able to watch it for free on Netflix.
I think the moment you're going to say Mike Tyson, that's going to bring some
Right,
people
no.
in. Mike Tyson brings a lot.
But it doesn't bring the pure fight fans.
They had a press conference last week, and it was really awkward.
Like, they're not fighting 3-minute rounds. They're fighting 2-minute rounds.
But it's professional.
Wow.
It goes on the record. They made this a professional fight.
Tell me when there's actual doping tests taking place on either of these athletes.
I still am very skeptical of that one. But thank you for bringing that on, because I didn't talk about it all week myself.
Well, because it must be.
But I didn't even
proud
watch it.
Ukrainian kid like you, like, is it just becoming old hat now? Like, your
No,
whole adult life has been filled by world champion heavyweight Ukrainian boxers.
I also still claim Lennox Lewis as Canadian.
Yeah.
He fought for Canada at the Olympics.
Yeah, but then when he went into the ring for heavyweights and
UK.
stuff, he was UK.
I remember that.
So I will always claim Lennox Lewis as Canadian. So we also had a good Canadian that was right at the top.
That's a money thing, too.
Yeah,
right?
marketing.
Like,
for my heritage between Lennox Lewis and the Klitschko brothers and the Usyk, it's been pretty good for that.
oh my God. Like, what a run. Like, what an absolute
How old
run.
is Usyk?
Like,
37. I was just looking
okay.
it up. He's suspended until June 2nd, by the way, for his injuries.
Yeah, well, because
To recover.
he couldn't do the press conference at the end because he had to go to the hospital.
Yeah.
And I think Fury had his face busted up.
yeah.
Like they both got beaten from that fight.
Yeah,
but I think that's one of the problems with the heavyweight is that we're getting them in the 30s, late 30s.
Well, just because it takes that long.
I know, but it's...
And it's also because the
But then
better...
how many more fights can we get
That's right.
once he's at the top?
The better you get, the more it slows down.
Yeah.
Right? So...
The climb is the exciting part.
Yeah, although boxing, more than any other sport, like, those records are just so suspect. Like, any guy who steps into a ring with a 15-0 record, just ask yourself, who do you think he was fighting for?
Yeah.
Like, to get to 15-0, it was tin cans, right? Like, it was... I mean, it's basically what the story Rocky was about, right? Just a guy who bummed around Philadelphia, got his head caved in by better boxers on their way up, right? And that has been the case, that the boxing world has always been built on that, except for you look at Usyk and you look at the level of the competition that he's had over the last decade, and it has been nothing but top of the tier, top of the, like, cream of the crop fighters. I mean, this guy has really, to me, established himself as one of the best boxers of my generation. I can't speak to the other ones, but of my generation.
There's a couple of people have messaged saying Lomachenko as well. I don't know Lomachenko.
Yeah.
So I'll have to look into him.
Yeah.
But,
But
Ukrainian.
you think it's because he's Ukrainian and doesn't get the hype like a guy a guy from the UK or obviously the US would get?
So
Mexico even.
But before 2010, and obviously there's a war being fought right now because people believe this. But before 2010, the Russian sphere saw the Klitschko's as Russian. And so there was money and interest behind their fights.
Oh.
That then generates interest, it generates articles being written and all of that. You look at an Usyk who has spent the majority of his pro career when Russia has disowned Ukraine, and he has had to go elsewhere to get the competition, to get the training and all of it. It's just been...
It's also not a sexy country in
Right.
In normal sense.
No, I get
right?
it.
But
Like
it-
if a boxer comes from Estonia, they're not going to get the same attention as you would get from being an American.
To
Yeah,
me, it's
exactly.
interesting though. That is the story of boxing. Like when people go like, who would put their brain at risk for that? And it's like people who don't have any other options, right? And so like Mexican fighters, South American fighters, it's
This is
no
the true escape for the family.
Yeah, it's no surprise that Ukraine has developed the level of fighters that they have.
Now Klitschko's the mayor of Kiev.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they've been on the front lines too a little bit.
Yeah.
With everything that's going on.
Those are some scary dudes, man. I remember when they were boxing.
Oh, they're
I was
monsters.
like, oh, that guy looks scary.
Yeah.
Both of them.
Yeah. I think they fought. Did they ever fight each other?
No.
I don't think so.
No.
Thought maybe once.
Wow, that was the big, like, there was a lot of money thrown to try and get those guys to fight each other, and they
Good
refused
for them
it.
not doing it.
Jerry Karpiak. Slava Ukraini.
Yeah.
Yes, Jerry. Slava Ukraini.
What's up, Jerry?
It was nice to get a boxing fight. Thank you for bringing
Yeah,
boxing in
listen,
today.
I had
honestly,
no
Great.
qualms with that. I was like, what is he going to put
happened,
on?
I was like,
off with that
Oh,
thing,
I
man.
look forward
like,
to
what
seeing
the
Matty
hell?
because, like, he's the only other guy that I know that will like see that and see it for exactly what it was.
Why?
Praise. We've got like 19 hours of Oilers talk coming
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
Like,
And that's
I'm more
also
than-
what I think, like, at least in where we are, our
Yeah.
bubble.
Yeah,
Oilers game 6 that night. Then you got game 7 on
Yeah.
the Monday. Holiday weekends. I think that takes a
Yeah.
lot of eyeballs away from anything else that's happening in the sporting world.
Yeah.
And they focus just on the Oilers. So, like, if that fight's happening in 3 weeks, and if the Oilers are out at that point,
Yeah.
then there might be a bit more of an
Well,
interest in that. But
there
I
is
was
a-
always born in the wrong time when it comes to boxing. I really wish I was part of the heavyweight of, like, the Alis and the Foremans. I wish I was part of that time.
You know what?
In terms of how much interest there was, and like fight night, everyone stopped what they were doing on that
No,
Saturday night to go watch it.
You're absolutely right, but I kind of roll my eyes about when people get nostalgic about what used to be because a lot of it is remember when Americans fought Americans for the world championships? That's when boxing was great, and it's kind of like
It's not the actual fighting, but the social.
Oh,
aspect
sure.
of it.
Yeah.
Like how it was such a prevalent. It's almost like it was Super Bowl night.
Yeah.
Type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got a boxing fight tonight. It's Ali taking on
Yeah.
Foreman. Where are we going?
I'm
Whose
conjuring
house are we heading
we
to?
had
Yeah.
that though. Tyson Holyfield was an absolute.
But I was still-
you might have been.
That's
too.
that's
Everyone
the
remembers
90s.
where they were. For
I
that.
remember Lennox Lewis taking on Tyson. It was
Yeah.
02 because it was the same time as Hurricanes Red Wings went to overtime. And I remember watching Sportsnet and Sean McCormick was on. And I'll never forget. He said, "We're not going to be done the show until both these things end." Like Red Wings, Hurricanes overtime, and,
That's
this
awesome.
fight. But then it's just boxing never has reached that level enough. We've had Mayweather too late.
Yeah.
But that was a big deal.
Yeah.
We had Mayweather versus McGregor, which was a spectacle,
Dud.
but a big deal.
Yeah.
Now we get this one,
Yep.
Paul Tyson,
Yeah.
and we're not focused like Wilder Fury. I made sure to watch all three of those trilogies. They were great,
They were great.
but they weren't as big of a deal
Yeah.
as they could have been.
Well, I mean,
Number 2 became a bigger deal because of how one ended, because Wilder knocked out Fury.
Yeah.
He was on, I think, the 7 count.
Yeah.
And he got up.
And he got up like a zombie.
It was
like Frankenstein. Like
I'll never forget. As soon as I saw Fury go down, it was one of those, you see it in life. You
Yeah.
see all the highlights and like, this is over.
Yeah.
Fight's over.
Yeah.
And somehow he got up still. I'll never forget watching him get up and going, oh my God, I was at home. There's an Oiler game that night.
Yeah.
I didn't go to the Oiler game because I wanted to watch the fight.
and Wilder will never be back because of that.
Well, then the second fight, he wore like 70 pounds or whatever it was for his costume walking to the ring.
That
He
was
said
insane.
He
Didn't
got
we watch that
tired
at the Pint?
Yes.
Yeah,
And he said, I got tired walking out. And I was like, well, that wasn't smart.
Yeah. No, Wilder will always look at it and go, I hit him with my best punch, and he got up.
Phrase, when we talk about like the glory days of boxing, immediately in my mind, it's like, yes, Mike Tyson, Holyfield, the end of George Foreman's run. But all I could think of is like Vegas, Danky, or Caesar's Palace, whatever.
Yeah.
High-waisted pants, those big, bad sunglasses, glasses that everyone wore, and the smell of cigarettes.
Yeah.
That's what I think of when I think of boxing in the 80s. Don King, that was still lucid.
Yeah.
I like the idea of just that one casino in Vegas they're at.
Yeah.
Like,
it rotated around
It's
the
like
ones.
Caesars or MG, whatever.
I
yeah.
am so
But not the
happy.
big T-Mobiles or anything like that,
No.
right? Like the venues that they had.
Welcome to the boxing venue at Caesar's Palace.
I'm so happy that Mike Tyson is still alive. Looks like he is like
He's still very
he's
fit.
rebuilt
Yeah.
his life.
Yes.
Like so that we can now look back on him in his 20s and enjoy just how out of his mind he was.
Yeah.
Right? There were stories of he had like a Lamborghini Countach or whatever.
Yeah.
And he was driving from somewhere in Northern California back to LA and got tired of running the stick shift, and so pulled over at a Rolls-Royce dealership and just exchanged it for a Rolls-Royce. With
take the automatic, please.
Like, because he just lived his life by cash. Like, it wasn't even a credit card.
No.
Like, just carried like millions of dollars
That's
in
insane.
cash.
It's a
on
shame the
him.
fight never happened in Edmonton.
Yeah,
know,
it
like-
never was, man. It was
But
never
they had
gonna.
Don King was here.
Right. It never
Like you were
was
that
gonna happen.
close to
Yeah.
Edmonton hosting a Tyson fight.
Yeah, yeah.
You know? Like how cool would that have been?
And it
Like,
would have been one of the best of his career. Like Razor
Why was that
brought it-
never going to happen?
Because it's Don King, man.
Yeah, but then why
Like,
would you come here?
Did they
because
use it
was
as a red herring to
grift.
move it somewhere else?
Exactly. I guarantee.
I don't know the full story,
I
so-
guarantee they all pocketed several $1 million just for flying into the city.
Okay.
Right? Like that was just. Don King was a criminal, man, and
Is
he
Don King
knew.
still alive?
Oh, maybe
Barely.
but
Well, I don't know.
that would be an injustice. But anyway,
He's 92.
yeah, well,
Still kicking. Good for you, Don.
still grifting. Yeah.
I don't know if he is. Oh, he's got a website. DonKing.com. I'll get that later.
Refresh my memory on this Mike Tyson fight in Edmonton.
Yeah.
Because I don't recollect
Okay, so what you need to know is that when we had the City of Champions sign
Yeah.
in front of the city, a lot of people think it would and it was a large part because the Oilers were in their glory days. The Eskimos
Yep.
at the time were coming out of their glory
Right.
days.
Yeah.
But also, Edmonton had developed some of the world's best boxers in Willie DeWitt and Bulldog.
Scotty Bulldog
Scotty
Olsen.
Bulldog
Oh, yeah.
Olsen. And so this was a fight town. Like,
Okay.
like the Coliseum, they had sold out for a DeWitt fight.
Oh, nice.
Right? Like, so
I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, this was a big town, and they were a big reason why that City of Champions sign was up there. And so there was well enough connected fight people in this town that Don King returned their phone calls. right? And so enough money in the area to at least convince him that, yeah, we could host that fight.
Wow.
But I guarantee it's also Don King was a crook, and there was never a chance that they were ever actually going to fight. Like,
One look at the guy and you listen to him, you're like, this guy's shady. Oh, he's such a shyster.
Simpsons did him well. Simpsons covered him well with and that whole.
But it would have been a
Tatum and all that.
Razor Ruddock, who was a Canadian champ at the time, and also like when you now look back, like he was a legit contender. They were supposed to have their fight. He was due. Tyson had to defend his title, and he had to defend it against Razor Ruddock.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where did it end up going?
Oh.
I don't remember.
Caster 1990 says Crystal Glass owner Ed Bean thought it would be a great idea to have the fight between Razor Ruddock and Tyson in Edmonton, but Don King fleeced him and the Edmondites.
Yeah.
Abutsky also had Edmondites. I'm assuming Don King pronounced Edmonton wrong.
Instead of
He
Edmontonians.
probably did, yeah.
That sounds about right.
Edmondites.
So the payoff was that George Foreman on his comeback came to Edmonton
Oh,
and
cool.
fought Ken Lacusta, I believe it was.
Ken Lacu's a local guy too? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
Yep.
right. And then
It's,
George Chuvalo was Ontario. Yeah.
I've always, I don't know why. I've always liked boxing way more than MMA. I can't get into MMA. I've never been able to get
Because
into
there's
it.
rules.
MMA
That's
has
why.
rules?
No, because there's rules, right? Like part of what you like about MMA is the lack of rules. Now, listen, it's not that there aren't any rules, but what draws you in as a guy who likes MMA more than boxing is you like the idea that there are more options to bloody your opponent, right? And so usually on the flip side, if you're more of a boxing fan, you kind of appreciate the fact that it's the sweet science.
I also don't like the kicking. I don't know why.
Right.
I squirm a little bit when I see the legs going.
Oh, yeah, that could be deadly. I went to the MMA, was it 150 here or whatever?
Yeah. We've had two UFCs, I think, here.
Holloway and the guy he fought. I interviewed them. I was filling in for
so that was
Dusty.
the second one.
They were great. They were awesome. Like super cool dudes. And I got tickets to go see it. It was awesome. I had a great time. And I'm not an MMA guy. I don't know
I'd like to go
why.
see it in person.
It was
100%.
I'm glad I went to it. It was a phenomenal event. Edmonton hosted it so well. Very exciting. Some really good fights. But Fraser, like you said about boxing, the rules thing I think does factor in absolutely for someone who's just like a casual observer of combat sports, let's call it. But you know what I always like about boxing? The pomp. And then the ceremony and pageantry that goes with it.
Yep.
And then at the end of the day, everyone's dressed to the nines. It's a big event. There's a lead up into it. And then two dudes beat the living crap out of each other in the ring in front of everyone. And I'm just like, this is a spectacle.
I also think boxing has a lower point of entry for fans. Like for you to be able to watch a boxing match and understand 50% of what's going on, it doesn't take that much,
No.
right?
Yeah.
Whereas MMA, like real high-end MMA, like to understand 50% of what's going on, especially when they get to the ground, you really need to understand.
Yeah, I had no clue. I was like,
What's
I don't know
going
what's
I could watch a
happening.
boxing fight and be like, I think this guy won.
Right.
And generally be like,
Right.
oh, yeah, that's what everyone's scoring
Yeah.
it as. I'm not missing this.
Yeah.
I figured it out just as well as
Yeah.
the people that love this sport and
Right.
follow it all the time. Plus, also boxing, I know there's fights all the time, but really, you don't have to watch that many fights for the year.
Right.
Like that's where I think UFC hurt themselves personally in terms of the casual sports fan. It's just way too many fights.
Well,
It
UFC's
used to be
UFC's
once
a
a month.
league.
I know, and that's but there's no off season. It seems.
Yeah,
And it
UFC
was-
is a league,
Remember
whereas
the early-
prize fighting is prize fighting.
But
Yeah,
remember the early
right.
2010s or whatever on 1260, we'd all talk MMA a lot.
Sure.
And it was because there was like one fight a month, and we'd all fight for the Showdown Joe.
Yeah.
And whatever MMA guests we could find.
Sure.
Because we all want to talk about it, but there was only the one fight a month to talk about. And now there's a fight every week of some sorts, different levels of significance.
Right.
But I think to me that kills it. That with the casual fan.
Yeah.
Whereas when you could just be prepared for 12 months or 12 fights a year, that gets a lot more people interested in following. Because then you also planning bigger, like these fight cards are better.
Yeah.
Because they're not being spread out across
it's also
52 weeks. They're being spread out across 12 months.
It's the incorporation as well, right? Like At least when it comes to the NHL, Major League Baseball, NBA, it's all individual owners within a league structure. Whereas UFC is owned by what, Disney? Like
No, it's a bigger company. I forgot what it is. They now own WWE.
Yeah, they bought WWE.
But it's like to your point with that. The McGregor Mayweather fight. McGregor didn't get to make as much in a sense because he had to give to UFC.
Like
because Dana White had to be involved with it because the way the UFC contracts are is it's not like boxing where in boxing it's you make that money. You sign that card, if you're Usyk or Fury, you're signing for your guaranteed payments.
Yeah.
And then your percent of pay-per-view sales, you get all that. So UFC doesn't get that.
Right. And so when you're a Mark Cuban or Daryl Cates and you have your team, is the most important thing to you the return on investment, or is it a bit of an ego?
Both,
right? Yeah,
I think it's
like you don't want to lose money on it.
No,
but you're probably more concerned about wins and losses.
It depends on which owner you are.
Right. No, there are some incorporated type
Manchester
owners.
United owners. They use Manchester United as a bank.
Yes.
They don't care.
Yeah.
They just want the money.
It's a leverage.
You've got others
that is
that
a good way to describe it.
They care more about the winning.
Right.
And they could lose a little bit or not make as much money as long as they're winning.
But when you are owned by a corporation that sells shares to the public, your number one job by law is to return money to your shareholders. That's your number one job. Not make the most entertaining fights. Although you probably should, it's good for business, or have the most compelling sort of matchups. It's about churning out the product, right? And so that's why UFC feels like we're kind of drowning in it these days.
Very much so.
Because they need to wring as much money out of their fan base as they possibly can.
Speaking of owners and UFC, Dana White apparently is like not allowed to gamble at a lot of Las Vegas casinos because he always wins.
Okay.
I don't know if he's playing blackjack or what, but like he's like, I got banned from this. I can't go back to the Palms. I can't play there. I can't play there.
Is this what Dana White has said?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
But it sounds like it's true.
I guess I will believe that as much as any degenerate tells me why they can't gamble at a place anymore.
Not welcome to gamble there
winning
anymore.
too much.
It's not the reverse.
Yeah.
I haven't paid my debts.
Exactly, yeah. It has nothing to do with the fact that when you start losing, you flip tables and expect them to pay for damages. No. I was winning too much. So, okay.
Apparently.
I'm so glad we got skeptic. I'm so glad there's another skeptic in this room with me.
Yeah, because that makes sense in Las Vegas. Like that,
you're taking away the house's money.
You know what? We're not going to let you gamble. You win too much. Like,
I'm going to look this up, Phrase, because the internet's always right.
I guarantee if you win too much, you know what that casino wants you to do? Come back. Because it's only
they
it's
want
a
you to
law
talk
of
about
averages,
it.
right?
At some point, you're going to give back.
At some point, you'll give it all back. Like, I don't know if you've noticed this, but gambling is a bit of a money-making business, like running casinos.
Dana White recounts ridiculous story behind $3 million gambling loss. The story of Dana White, who was kicked out of the casino for winning too much.
Yeah, but who says that? Is it from the hotel or is it from Dana White?
Yeah,
that's what Will wants to know here.
Yeah, when Caesar's Palace is like, that guy's not allowed in here anymore. Yeah. He's too much of a winner.
Here's a quote: "When Palms was owned by Maloof, I beat them for $1.6 million. Then as soon as Palms was sold, people came asking me to stop playing there. Las Vegas is about losing, not winning. They don't like people who win. Then the Palms were sold again, and the new owner said, 'We want you back.' And I beat them another $1.6 million. Instead of just asking me to leave, they gave me a title belt. It says undisputed blackjack champion, 24-0. It's a cool way of saying get out of our casino and don't come back."
Yeah. No.
Is there a picture of said belt?
But that's monster advertising for the Palms. By getting in the news, being like, "Oh,
1.6 isn't that much."
Yeah.
In a night.
In a night, like those casinos go
I don't
through.
think maybe I'm wrong. I don't think a casino would ban someone
like
for 1.6.
I listen. Hats off to Dana White for telling that tale.
Do you think he's in it with the Palms people?
No,
he thinks that he's lost money.
I think,
and what Dana White is saying is I actually won too much.
I think he's
selling it.
I think he's been banned from certain establishments because he's an asshole.
Oh, okay.
And then,
That works.
And then says it's because I was winning too much.
Okay.
Yeah.
That could be.
This is the EST Hangout presented by Two Hoots Hard Ice Tea. Matt Iwanyk, Wil Fraser, Tom Gazzola with here. We will qualify someone for the VIP table to Friday Great Outdoors Comedy Festival. Andrew Schultz, Shane Gillis. We're going to give away that tomorrow on the morning show. And then we're going to start qualifying after that for the Saturday Kevin Hart VIP table. GreatOutdoorsComedyFestival.com for more information. Alley Cat, the official beer of the Great Outdoors Comedy Festival. I've got some news from Lieutenant Eric.
Okie dokie.
No Rupe hints in game one for the Dallas Stars.
Nice. Thank
Now,
God
this
Eric
comes
updated
from
us.
also like other people,
Insider.
but our real insider is Lieutenant Eric. So no Rupe hints for game one tonight. I know with Gager's not here today. He's had things to do. He was supposed to be here. Two guys and a goalie. I was with him last week. We were talking about the Stars. He thinks losing hints really, I don't want to speak fully for him, but it does impact the Dallas Stars in a big way and
For sure
brings
it
them
does.
a lot closer down to the other teams. Is it that big of a loss for the Stars?
Yes.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Freeze.
Well, yeah, Dallas is a depth team. And so anytime you lose some of your depth, it's going to affect all the pieces, right?
Yeah.
The Oilers can lose an Adam Henrique for a series and still win because they are not they have depth, but they are not a team built around the idea of depth. They're a
Right.
team that is built around the idea of our power play is going to kill you, and if we can saw everything else off, we like our chances.
Right.
So it's two different building philosophies. So yeah, I would agree. Anytime a team like Dallas that is built and coached around running its four lines, you're gonna feel that loss.
Tommy?
Huge loss because he's an Oiler killer. And speed, skill, obviously he helps stirs the drink for the Stars offensively. How many times were we talking about Rupe Hintz sneaking in behind the Oilers, splitting them and going in on scoring on any of the Oilers netminders, whoever it has been over the last few years? That is a big loss. And simple as that. Like they're out a weapon who has been out for the last little bit. But
Although that organization just feels like a next man up organization.
Well, that's the thing,
Right?
like,
deliver, yeah.
yeah.
They have so much depth. That's where it's like, to me, is this not a team that is the most equipped to survive a loss like a hints to their lineup?
Yes.
So then does
I
it
would
make
just
it-
assume so, just because that's what they've been doing,
Right.
Like the history tells us that this is an organization that just keeps replacing from within.
Yep.
Right.
Like Wyatt Johnson has had a tremendous Stanley Cup playoffs. Logan Stankoven being called up and having an impact on top of the fact they've got the old grizzled guys, Ben, Pavelski, Sagan. They play well.
Yeah.
They're still playing well. So, yeah.
To me, perception is a funny thing because the perception of the Oilers is that they're top heavy. And so over the last couple of days, watching talking heads go, they're top heavy. Look, the top 4 scorers in this year's playoffs are all Edmonton Oilers. And I have to ask the question, at what point, like at what number does it become depth?
Then it'll
Right?
never
Like-
become that.
Right,
They will
like-
never say
like-
that about the
like
team.
If you have the top 6 scorers in the playoffs, is it top heavy or is it at what number
Phrase.
of guys leading the league in points?
doing better than everyone
Yeah.
else?
Yeah, does it
Phrase.
become? Oh, they're not top heavy. They have depth.
Yeah.
Like, to me,
It'll never be that way from the outside.
right.
As long as you have Connor and Leon.
Because
It won't be.
because of those two, it tilts the scales. I was watching before my parents left for Montreal last week. I went over to pick up the dog, and I'm watching. They're showing a radio show on TV.
Yeah.
Oddly enough,
Yeah.
we do that too now. But out of Toronto, and I was like, "What are they?" They were talking about the Oilers. I'd never seen these people before. I'd never heard of them, and I was like, "Man, they have no clue what they're talking about." And they're on at like 6:00 our time.
Yeah,
And
that
I
was.
like,
I think that's Sportsnet probably.
I
Is it
wasn't
that
gonna
one
say
show?
who.
Why? Because I just know
But-
a show. Because the only one that would be on. I forgot what it's called. It's like the pregame. It's called or something like that.
Something like that. And I'm like, man, they have missed on so many swings here. Basically, they've struck out like 17 times. I'm like, they have no idea anything about this team.
Well, I had Overdrive on yesterday, and they were talking, and they just the way they were talking about even Skinner or something, like, yeah, you guys really haven't
No idea.
followed the Oilers. Like,
I mean,
the games are later.
The
It's harder. I understand that.
The biggest deficit for the Oilers is their question mark in goal. That's what it is, right?
I think it's the handling of how the goalie goes. Because I threw this actually to Belzy and Quinn yesterday. Just based off the last series, if you're Chris Knoblauch, do you look at just trying to get Pickard in for one game?
No.
Just because you think Skinner needs a rest?
No, what you
Well,
hope
that he's a guy that maybe does do well with having not playing a best of 7. He needs one day off. And you know that Pickard is a guy that could come in for just a singular game and will have a chance to win because he also beat the Dallas
Completely
Stars.
disagree with that.
I just think you play your starting goaltender until he shows you that he's needs a rest, right? And so that could come in.
But okay,
win,
but
right, like
but
if you win 6-5,
what does it show you when? If it shows you he needs a rest for a game, would you give him the rest for a game?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. Like,
would you?
I would think
unless
that
it has to be
scenario
losses.
doesn't even come up. Like, this isn't Freddie Anderson asking for a game day off.
Why do you think it doesn't come up based on his history? There's a good chance it
Because
comes up.
the travel is easier in the postseason. You're not practicing. You get your rest. You're barely on the ice.
But the history
There's
of his
no
last
reason for you to want
his last
rest.
4 playoff series is that based on 3 of those 4,
How good
he might
is
need a rest.
Here's another thing that never came up. How good is Stuart Skinner against the Vancouver Canucks, even in the regular season? Not good.
Yeah.
Right? He kind of slayed of demon, albeit in a circuitous way or whatever.
Partly because Pickard came in and gave him that rest day. That's what it's like. Is if you see Skinner not playing well, if you're Knoblauch, you still ride him. You don't take the chance. But okay, maybe he just needs
But are
one
you
game
saying
off.
he's not playing well, or he's tired?
Well, it's kind of
because if I hear
it's
he's
both in a
tired, I'm
sense.
telling you to go F yourself because that's ridiculous.
I do think you're trying to be easier on Stuart Skinner.
If he's playing like
than it
crap,
needs to be.
then take him out.
I don't think Skinner suffers from exhaustion.
Yeah.
I think we've seen at times he can suffer from exhaustion. 100%. I think he's also a guy that sometimes, based on now just how last series went and what we've seen, is maybe he's a guy that just needs one game off. Once you start seeing his game slip a little bit, you just need to be like, hey, we're going to put you on the side for a game, and we'll go the other way. The Boston Bruins were a team that went with 2 goalies.
That's
Yeah, but they have 2
you're
number
talking
ones.
to me at least. I think you're talking about mental rest, not physical.
100%. Well, mostly, yeah.
Yeah. I do think that Stuart Skinner, because of his
thinking of the
age
game.
and his lack of experience within the league, I think because he's from this town, I think he understands the moment
100%.
more than anyone else.
And physical exhaustion or
understands
mental exhaustion's a lot.
Just how much is on his shoulders, and I do think he does suffer at certain points because of that pressure, both internal and external. Like this, it's tough. Like the exact opposite is what we saw in Vancouver, right? You saw a kid in Shilovs who came in and knew he had, like, talk about a guy playing with house money.
Totally. Well,
Right?
Vancouver was too.
He knows that he's not going to be the starter if Thatcher Demko is healthy, right? Like, it's not like he's playing for
He
anything.
earned himself a backup job.
Well, this is completely. This goes off topic, but if you're the LA Kings, are you not sitting there with $4 million
To
throw out like take your pick?
DeSmith's
of,
gone. I think the Canucks know that that's the guy that
I know, but
go away.
it's also a team that's up against the cap, and if I'm any of the 3 teams in California, I'd throw that guy 2-year contracted for $1 million a year. Because
but
the goaltending that they have.
What has he played?
Well, this is just
16
that's why it
NHL
would only
games?
be a 2-year contract. Like we've seen every team have to. Well, the Oilers are the perfect example. Have to eat a bad contract.
Yeah.
Like that's the risk, right? To me,
LA did that with Cal Peterson too recently.
Yeah.
And they were able to trade him to Philadelphia. Peterson, I think, played a couple games, but he was barely a factor for Lehigh Valley.
Anyways, whereas Stuart Skinner, he's not playing with house money, right?
No.
Like he knows that the legacy of potentially 2 of the greatest guys to ever lace them up rests a lot on his shoulders, right? The legacy of this town, this build, all of it. And so on one hand, you can be incredibly excited that the stars have aligned to allow you to have this experience, which I think you see most of the time in Stuart Skinner, a guy who is just a kid in a candy store. But then he also understands what it means if he can't get the job done, right? So that's a lot of pressure on a very young goaltender who has...
And once it starts slipping on him, it slips.
Who has had
big
nothing
time.
but pressure since he came into the league.
I wouldn't be surprised if we all of a sudden start seeing Skinner not start slipping a little bit if the next game that we don't see Cal Pickard coming just for one game.
Yeah.
That Chris Knobloch would. Well, he's went to me ballsy moves both times. When he went to Pickard, that was a ballsy move. I think after the way Pickard played those two games in 4 and 5, I think going back to Skinner was to me also a very ballsy move. So Chris Knobloch's not afraid to play with his net if he needs to. I think that's what we just learned this last series.
Well, and his ability to cycle his lines in those last 2 games, I think that bodes well for the Oilers against Dallas.
Well, if they could keep playing that
Is that
defense,
you have
goaltending doesn't even almost really matter at that point.
You
if
have
you
a
play
head
that
coach
suffocating.
that the last 2 head coaches in similar situations, those guys panicked.
Mm-hmm.
And Knobloch didn't. Right? We saw that in the last 2 head coaches, that when the tension ramped up, what did you see? You saw a steady diet of McDavid and Draisaitl out there on the ice.
Well, we did see McDavid and Draisaitl play 30 minutes a couple of times this series.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
Like you take your shots when the line, like especially when you have the ability to change last and get guys trapped and what have you. But you didn't see that head coach kind of go, I have no idea.
True. He did make some mistakes early in the series, though.
Yes,
but he did learn
that's
from
what
them.
I mean. He learned from them.
Yeah,
like,
he did.
Like, he was a better coach in game 6 and 7 than he was in game 1 and 2.
Correct. That's wholeheartedly
Like,
agree.
And you could flip side of that. Rick Tocchet was the same coach
Yes,
the entire
he was.
series. He didn't adjust his team. He didn't ask his team to try things differently. Now, look, they went within 1 goal of going overtime in game 7, so to a degree it kind of worked. But it also might be the difference of why they didn't figure out a way to win that series when they were up 3-2.
Or waited around, too.
And look, there was also other reasons for that with injuries all over the place for the Canucks. But yeah, he was the same coach and coached his team the exact same way through 7, whereas Chris Knobloch looks like he adjusted and changed as the series went
Jack
on,
Adams.
which is a regular season award.
I know.
No,
I'm just saying.
no, Knobloch.
I don't like the Jack Adams award.
Knobloch saw his team embarrass themselves at the end of game 1
Yes.
and got better as a head coach because of it.
Yeah.
We have seen the last 2 head coaches have similar situations and just not have any sort of an idea of what they wanted to do moving forward. So
True.
I think that could bode well. We'll see if it holds up in the next series. That's quite a head coach he's going up against in Dallas, right? So
Pete DeBoer is excellent.
Love Pete DeBoer.
Yeah.
Who was I talking about it this week? Maybe it was when you were here a couple days ago. Maybe it was yesterday.
No, we
But
talked about him
was
on the
it-
Hangout bit.
Yeah, well, no, it's one where he's won everywhere, like in terms of getting really far. He just can't win the cup.
right.
But he gets you really close, and it's going to be a fascinating matchup to see how Chris Knobloch goes up against Pete DeBoer.
Yeah.
See how that plays out fully. GCL Diesel Oil Stream pre- and post-game shows tonight, 5 o'clock. For the pregame start, you'll be live at Hudson's West Edmonton Mall on Bourbon Street. Tune in to EdmontonSportsTalk.com, on TuneIn, iHeartRadio, as well as on YouTube for the pregame. And then, of course, the postgame show is you, Cass, and YTT will either calm the waters after a Game 1 loss.
Whatever.
Or
Bring on the
pump
chaos.
up the excitement after a Game 1 win.
Bring on the chaos. Whatever it is, win or lose, it's been fun.
Did either of you guys watch the Dallas Colorado series all that much?
Yes.
Okay. Because I didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, you tune into highlights, you pick up 10 minutes of a period and what have you, but I didn't dive into it. Did Dallas win that series or did Colorado lose it? Because at least that last game, which I did watch some of, looked like it looked like one team was in a coma because of the Nichushkin situation.
Well, Colorado was wounded and Dallas took advantage.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that did factor in, and there's no denying it because Nichushkin was having a good playoffs
Yes.
too. He was obviously a big time factor as he has been the last few years for Colorado. But it almost felt like it was like a arm wrestle, and it was back and forth, and then the Nichushkin thing was the final thing where like the Stars could flex and then finish them off.
But it also felt a little bit to me, and just tell me if I'm reading it wrong, like an Avalanche squad that has had like 20 tough breaks go against them, and this was that last break where they finally spit the bit. Like when you think of the fact that it sounds like Landeskog might be thinking of retirement.
Well, it's press conference. Is it today, I think?
Yeah.
GM and Landeskog are meeting.
Yeah, Megan Angley, who DNVR Sports. We've had her on the pregame show before. She says he's not retiring, but
Also,
we'll
maybe
find
just
out.
an update.
Yeah,
That if
Which
you're
would be great. That'd be a shame.
yeah,
But like, if you're the McKinnon and the Mikko Rantanen who, like, you know what your team looked like when you won a Stanley Cup,
yeah.
and that's not what your team looked like.
No,
like, at
I
what
know.
point do you kind of go, guys, like, I can't carry all of this?
They're right there though, Phrase. Like they're still pretty damn good.
They
Like,
are.
They're a contender.
But
Like,
you like, it's interesting. You look at the Oilers and you go, well, they're pretty top heavy. I'm sorry, that Avalanche squad is the most top heavy squad in the NHL.
Lehkonen was a good ad to give them depth. Cogliano's on his last legs.
Well,
I
this is
would
just
assume,
it. Like,
you know, like
when you're going, Cogliano's still playing.
Well, like the Oilers,
Yeah.
also you have the questions about goaltending.
Yeah,
yeah, they're not a perfect team. No team is, but.
no.
I guess Vegas would be close to a perfect team, although their goaltending, you're like, I don't know. Like sometimes it's Logan Thompson, sometimes it's Aiden Hill, sometimes neither of them's playing well.
Yeah, they're a mood team.
Mood, yeah.
Right,
Dallas is pretty close.
Like when
I like that a mood. Too.
like
Yeah.
when Vegas wants to like have all 8 cylinders churning, man, they're a machine out there.
Just quick. Andrew E says the press conference already happened. He says he's going to continue to recover and return from
yeah,
Landeskog.
yeah, there you go. With the Golden Knights, here's an interesting one because that reminded me when they came into town late in the season. Lawless did a rink report with me, and he goes, "This is a team that's played a lot of hockey. They're pretty tired." And I was like, "Yeah, I guess so, but
that's the difference between greatness and not.
Yeah, like the
Yeah, but
Blackhawks
we
played
said
a
that
lot of
about
hockey,
we said that
and-
about the Lightning last year.
Yeah.
when they were losing to the Leafs, they've played a lot of hockey. There is something about
But they
long seasons and very short off seasons, and that catches up to it.
There's also just something about Father Time, right?
undefeated.
Well, and so as soon as that 30th birthday rolls around, to expect that athlete's going to come back as good or better than they were the year before is unfair. It can happen, but to expect it is unfair, right? So, I mean, that's what I look. It's interesting listening to Vancouver and the amount of people that are giving the worst compliment in the world, which is, wow, they're going to come back even better than they were before. And it's just that consolation sort of prize of people being like, great season. It was a great season, guys. Like you should walk away with your head held high. And then you look at their contract situation.
It's going to be tough.
You look at their best players and the age that their best players are, i.e. JT Miller. And you kind of go, yeah, but I think we've seen this before. This might have been their shot. Like they made
I
the
agree
additions
with
in
that
the
a little
season.
bit.
They made the additions in the season to bring in key guys that made impact. Like
We sometimes see those teams that have just the one good year and then they fall back down.
Edmonton was that team in 2017.
Yes, and
Right.
and
Like-
with this, again, I'm not fully into all the deep numbers. I don't know them, but I think the Canucks had a very high PDO this year. And
Of
and
luck.
generally
Yeah,
what
yeah,
that
yeah.
happens is
it reverts over time.
like I don't think it happens in the season. I remember the Avs. I think it was the Avs. I could be wrong with the team. Quite a few years ago when they were the best team in the Western Conference. They had a great PDO, I believe, that season too. And it's in the season, it's not going to come down. You get it for this season, but the next season is when you catch back up to earth. And I wonder if the Canucks are that team that this year had a lot of breaks.
Yeah.
Everything worked perfectly this year. And then we come into next year, and all of a sudden they're going to revert down a little bit. And I don't think they're going to go drop to the bottom of the Western Conference.
No.
But now all of a sudden they're a team that's fighting for that wild card spot as opposed to fighing with the Oilers and the Golden Knights for the Pacific Division type thing.
Right.
That's
Well,
the fall off I can maybe see.
we
for
saw
the
it with the
Canucks.
Flames a little bit. Like the problem that I have is if you are going to say that, all right, like when you look at this team, the sky's the limit. Well, then your best players need to be also your youngest, right? And when you look at what Pettersson and Hughes did,
Or didn't do.
Well,
exactly.
Hughes was playing with one arm, basically.
Well, but
Pettersson, no excuse.
Hughes is always playing with one arm. That's kind of the problem with Hughes.
He's banged. Yeah, he's
is
banged
he
up.
is tiny, and teams know that they can dump it into his corner and take runs at him for 7 games.
Yeah.
Right? That's what Nashville did to him, and they softened him up for the Oilers. The
Very
Oilers
much
didn't
so.
even have to do that to him because he was already walking around wounded.
Yeah,
Right?
Lindholm, same thing. Looked like a wrist. He was wearing a cast in the locker room. So
Yeah. So which is why you look at the Oilers right now and you're just kind of like, I don't know how many kicks at the can you get for this. Like
Nah,
I
that's-
like,
For the Oilers?
Yeah, like
I think the difference is because you say the young players are the ones.
It's true.
Connor and Leon are producing,
And
they're still
Bouchard-
young. Bouchard
Bouchard
to me,
has outplayed the other team's top defenseman in both of the first 2 rounds.
Yes.
and Leon.
Which, look at the names of those guys that he outplayed. It was
Doughty,
Drew
Hall of
Doughty,
Famer, yeah.
like
Hughes, Norris winner, yeah.
yeah.
It's one of those, but like, Connor's one of those special talents. He's gonna play great until like Crosby, until he's pretty much done his
Until
career.
he doesn't want to play anymore. Yeah.
Leon is going to be a guy I believe will be pretty close to that as well.
Oh.
right. So
Just
as long
his-
as
just
you
his
sign,
style of play.
as long as you sign those two, which I
Yeah.
believe will happen, your window's always open for the Oilers.
Yeah.
just straight
It's
up.
how you fill in. You got the
Everything
frame.
else.
It's how you
Yep.
fill in the rest. That comes on the pro scouting and the whoever the
Penguins
manager.
did a great job of that for many years when
And
they
then Ron
had.
Hextall got
Well,
in there.
it's
Right, but they had
it's
Crosby, they had
the-
Malkin, they had Letang, and for a while Jordan Stahl and stuff.
Yeah.
and then they had to fill out everything else.
the rusts
cheap.
and
They
the-
had to find them cheap, but they did that,
Dumoulin.
and they were able to win cups. And they also
Yeah.
had goaltending usually.
Yeah.
But yeah, as long
which is what Dallas is doing right now.
Yeah.
Man, their pro scouting is fantastic.
That's excellent work. Yeah.
like just fantastic.
I still stand by though that I think all the Oilers have to do is get to a cup final, and I think they'll win. Because I don't see how Connor and Leon get that close to a cup
interesting.
and don't just go all out. Like if the Oilers beat the Stars this series, I don't think
it's
anything's
hard
stopping
to
them.
not look at that Panther squad and see a juggernaut though.
I know,
Holy
but I
cow.
give
the Oilers fits this year.
When it
too.
comes to
Yeah.
legacy, all of that, Connor and Leon now know that we're 4 wins away from a cup.
Like that
Everything's
was
left out.
That was some game 1 last night. Like I honestly looked at that
was
series and was like, well, that's a toss up.
yeah.
I was like, I don't know who to call. Like both teams look just like they're on top of their game. And then the Rangers just lay an egg.
Yeah.
Like they were awful in that game.
I think the Lafreniere
and
own
the
goals.
Panthers and the Panthers were locked in.
Yeah.
Right? Like willing to do exactly what they needed to do to win a hockey game. right?
Bobrovsky was great.
Bobrovsky was great. The team defense was like
Yeah.
they just looked like a really scary team. Like I don't know anyone in the playoffs right now that can beat a Florida Panthers team that was playing the way that they were last night. Like that looked as absolutely well-oiled of a machine as you're going to find.
Very impressive win.
Yeah.
By the way, this is EST Hangout Headlines brought to you by the Ranch Golf and Country Club, offering premier conditions, top-notch service, unmatched value. The Ranch Golf Club is your choice that you want to go to for any golf round this season here in the Edmonton area. Book your tee time by visiting theranchgolf.com. What's that smile for?
What were you gonna say?
I was just going to say, can you guys remember the last time we had a Final Four that was the 4 best teams in the NHL? Like I can't remember the
feel
last
like it's
time
happened
we
recently.
haven't had an upset-free playoffs.
Yeah, it's been, I think, the only true
Yeah.
upset the only upsets we've seen, I think.
Boston last year to Florida.
No, but this year.
No, this year.
Yeah.
I
this
think it's
year.
Colorado over Winnipeg is in theory an upset
No.
because it was 2
No.
versus 3. No, I know, but I'm saying technically.
I
2
understand.
versus 3.
No, I'm not
Oilers
saying-
beating the Canucks is technically an
Yeah.
upset. Beyond that, we haven't seen any top seed go
I'm
down.
not saying based upon the standings.
Yeah.
I'm
No, I
saying
know.
based upon the eye test.
Yeah.
No,
of
I'm
trying to-
saying,
yeah.
but technically, even technically,
Yeah.
we only have had, I think, 2 upsets this playoffs.
Yeah.
And those aren't even real true upsets
Yeah.
that you look at. Like, again, it was a 2 versus 3, 3 beating the 2, and then 1 versus a 2, 2 beating the 1.
Yeah.
Like it's not. I
No,
don't think there. Unless people could correct. I don't think we're missing anything there. Has been virtually almost no upset this playoffs.
No, there hasn't. Like it's been one of those things where at the beginning of every series, when you ask yourself, all things being equal, who
Yeah.
should win this? There has not been an upset. in
No.
that.
And the hockey's still
They
been
also,
great.
part of that too is also I think there's just been so many really good teams.
Yeah.
That like if the Hurricanes had knocked off the Rangers, people wouldn't have sat there and be like, "Ooh, what an upset,"
Well,
because they were so close, right?
The
Like,
Rangers are the most disrespected President's
Aren't they?
Trophy winners in recent
Yeah.
memory,
Aren't they?
which is insane.
Yeah.
But it's just one of those where I think we've had so many good teams that, especially as we got to the second round, there was no pretender in the second round.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I also
Every
think
series was a like. Ultimately, if the Canucks beat the Oilers, I wouldn't have sat here saying that was a huge upset.
I agree.
Like that's how close.
No,
how many
yeah.
good teams we've had in the NHL this season.
I think any time a team without a true superstar beats 2 superstars, that's
Sure.
an upset, right? So that to me would be the one
But that's
caveat
we're
I
getting
put on
into a
that.
little bit of technicalities with that one, right?
The other
Like,
big thing for me is there's also been years past where you've looked at like team 17, 18, 19 in the standings and could kind of be like, man, if things had gone better for them, they might have been able to do some damage in the playoffs. But this injury happened or what have you. This year, the difference between the top 16 and the bottom 16, it's night and day.
I'll take that. The top even 14, 13 type thing.
Yeah.
You could take a couple of those playoff teams and just say you're in the middle.
Yeah, but like,
But yeah, you're right. Like I think it's
15
we have
and
such
16 in the West. It was Vegas and a red hot
Well, yeah,
Nashville
but
Predators.
I could take Nashville out a little bit. I could take the Kings out a little bit. Like they're on the bubble to me. They're
But
not
there
in
was
that top
barely
echelon.
a
They're at the
playoff
bottom.
race in the West
Well, that's
this
the
year,
thing.
right?
Yeah.
And
In
it's
the East
I
a little
think like
bit,
you've
yeah.
had this year was one of those years where just the top teams are all so great.
Yeah.
But then what does that mean? Then the bottom teams are going to be really bad.
Yeah.
Or quite bad because how did that talent?
The disparity.
Yeah.
It's wild though, like especially in the West, but in the East as well. Like the difference between the teams that were in the playoffs and out
We
of it.
saw what happened to Washington. Would have the Flyers or the Red Wings am I missing Pens?
Pens kind of crept in
Would
there.
any
Remember?
of them
Yeah.
done any damage?
No.
Or would they have
No.
had suffered the same fate almost as the Capitals 4-0 sweep type thing?
Yeah.
Getting into the
It would have been
playoffs
close
would
to
have
that.
been,
Yeah.
Right? Like it was there was no worthy team. The worthy teams all made it.
Yeah.
100%.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
even a couple teams, as I said, you could take out. Washington, LA, to a degree Nashville. I could take those 3 teams out.
Yeah.
Well, the fact that
And we have I could say 13.
we had a
good
month to
teams.
go in the regular season, and Calgary still hadn't been eliminated yet.
I know, but they
That's
were
the
was-
Batman
nowhere.
point.
And it was just
Yeah.
kind of one of those things where you're just kind of like, the standings are lying. Like,
Yeah.
there are teams that are way worse than their record says it is.
Yeah.
Like, especially in the.
Well, but Boston was kind of like they had like 23 overtimes
You've
and they
talked about
lost
that a lot.
15 of them.
Yeah.
Like, were they really that good on that for getting to the second round? But like, I was like, this is not a juggernaut. Like
They're not
last
as
year.
close to the Panthers and the Rangers.
No.
They were a little closer to maybe the Leafs and
Correct.
the
Yes.
Lightning.
Yes, absolutely.
But
Which is
the
why it went-
standings-
which
is
but
why
the
it went
standings
7
put
games.
them a little bit made you look like, oh, they got to be Rangers
Yeah.
and Panthers.
Yeah. They had above average goaltending, though.
absolutely.
And goaltending can, I mean, that, to me, that's the untold story of the Vancouver Canucks. It's why we were all wrong at the beginning of the season about where we thought they were going to finish. It's also why we were wrong about how good they actually were by the end of the season. And it's that they have a world-class goaltender in Thatcher Demko. And when you have a healthy Thatcher Demko, you're going to be in games you don't have any business of being in.
That's fair.
And especially with a team that can make a late push like a Vancouver can, you end up winning some games
Yeah.
that probably you don't with league average goaltending, right? And it's also the Achilles heel of that team because a Thatcher Demko will never be healthy, right? He will never go 82 games of regular season and then into the playoffs without picking up some sort of nick or what have you, right?
He's always kind of been banged
He's
up. That's a good point.
always like, if Mark Messier was a little bit the same, although we now think of Mark Messier as this guy that just played for forever. But he was a guy that always missed like 5 games a season, right? In the playoffs, he would just shrug it off. He would ignore the pain.
Yeah.
But as a
then just go
regular
elbow
season,
someone in the face.
Yeah, like you can kind of look at the careers of certain guys, and well, you know what? In Toronto, their centerman, Matthews.
No.
He's another guy that like
Yeah, he seems to always miss a
yeah,
couple
when
of
you
years.
kind of just look and you kind of go, yeah, does that guy score 70 goals if he can play 82 games?
So what you're saying is load management in hockey.
Maybe a little bit.
Awful.
Especially, well,
This is why I believe you need an in-season tournament because you could do load management without
Yeah.
doing load management.
Soft.
You play an in-season tournament. No, I think
They
it built,
they played too many games.
and that's where you could
We know
balance
this.
everything out. Where you have 82 games, you could play your stars in the important games. In the other games, you could develop younger prospects, and
this is
everyone
why.
all around, everyone gets their money. You still get your 82 games. Players can play. Some players can get rest and get ready to go for playoffs. Teams that are out of it have something to try to play for.
This is why if I'm LA, I'm backing up a truck to go and get Shelovs.
Well, they tried to get Allmark. and he
they
said
need a
no.
goaltender.
I think Colorado tried too.
Yeah, he wouldn't waive.
Yeah. And so, yeah, going.
Well,
Colorado, yeah, Georgiev's been all right, but he's not.
I don't know. Like,
Don't
are
you
you going
get
to count on him?
Don't you get the impression that his teammates hate him, though?
I don't.
Why do you say that?
Yeah, where
I
does
get
that
the
come from?
impression. Wow, there's that famous clip of, was it Georgiev like complaining to the refs, and it was Mikko Rantanen who like shouted from like 30 feet away for him to shut the F up. and or like
I don't remember
I think it was
this.
like I may have the wrong goaltender, but I feel like it was Rantanen shouting like, "Shut the f up! I'll effing kill you."
Oh my god. Yeah, that doesn't sound like teammates that really like each other.
Like it was just like they're just sick of complaints.
Interesting.
Right? Like so.
Yeah.
It at least from the outside looking in, it does not look like a bunch of teammates who love their goaltender. It looks like the exact opposite of what's in Edmonton, where it feels like everyone feels Stuart Skinner's pain more than they should, right? Like,
but Stuart Skinner is that type of person that you're like, how can you not like this person?
they all just love
This
him.
is a good
And when
person.
he is struggling, they're all dying a little bit themselves. And whereas kind of what they need is somebody to go over and be like, make a safe.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay, I found it.
Is Georgiev?
Did you find
So there's an intense moment. This was caught. So I found this through Reddit.
'Kay.
An interesting exchange between Rantanen and Georgiev caught in the Oilers BTS series. So behind the scenes series, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
And it says, and there's just a little clip and. In Edmonton, Rantanen skates to Georgiev, skates away, and someone goes, I believe Rantanen says, "Shut the front door. I'll for sure something bleep." Like,
oh,
like,
good. I'm glad that this
he absolutely like yells at him. Just goes like Georgiev's talking, like giving the puck to the linesman. So he might not have been talking to the linesman, but they're going at it a little bit.
Wow. I want to
Watch
see
the, it rotates.
Yeah.
Like it'll just keep looping or something.
So yeah.
So there's
so if
something
you're
there.
Colorado, maybe She Loves is going to be a better alternative.
Shut the front door. I'll for sure kiss you. Bleep bloop is the quote.
See, I don't know if I see, and I'll have to read that a little closer, but
Oh, he ends that with fiddlestick you.
yeah. So yeah,
Like I
maybe
said,
they don't like the
I don't
goalie.
get the impression they love Georgiev.
No, they don't. That's pretty telling. And then Devon Taves just like,
For anyone that wants to watch it, I just Googled Georgiev ref shouting, and then it's the top Reddit link from
Wow.
the Colorado Avalanche that says an intense exchange between Rantanen and Georgiev if you want to go watch that.
great
clip.
catch.
Wow.
Great catch.
I did not see that
right
one.
here in Edmonton. All right. That's fantastic.
Okay. Well,
So they're looking for a goaltender.
So there's that.
no wonder they were really on Ullmark.
Okay.
Just don't be surprised, I guess
The
would be my
picture
thing.
is clear. Yeah.
Portions of this hour of the EST Hangout brought to you by the High Product Marketing, official merch partner of Edmonton Sports Stock, promotional products that bring the buzz. Check them out at the highproductmarketing.com. Chelsea does some great work over there. So if your company, or just yourself, you want to be a big shot and have your own personal products, talk to Chelsea with the Hive. What's the finger?
I speaking of local stuff, and then I'll be on location today, West Edmonton Mall, Bourbon Street, GCL Diesel Oil Stream pregame show starting at 5. I got caught. I was looking at Bourbon Street the other day, and I found there's somebody who does this. A local guy that does like a West Edmonton Mall.
the Lost Edmonton Mall
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah,
the Twitter
Great
account.
series.
It was on YouTube.
He does almost like long form documentaries
Yes.
on what
About the
used to
old
be.
things.
And I watched a 15-minute video on the history of Bourbon Street because I'm like, well, I'm gonna be there, and I've been there like for the entire playoffs and regular season. And Bourbon Street, like I
miss it.
vaguely remember the original Bourbon Street with like the statues. There was a cop bringing like a lady of the night in handcuffs, and there was a band playing and stuff like that.
It was supposed to look like Bourbon Street in
New Orleans.
New Orleans.
And they had the Jokers.
Yeah,
And those,
but that was the second version of it because I remember the Hard Rock Cafe spinning guitar, but they replaced like the statues with like the jesters and the big heads, but it's still New Orleans themed. But I was just like, oh my god, it has changed so much. And then
Best Edmonton Mall.
Edmonton Mall,
that's
yes.
what it is, yeah.
And then the funniest part about it, he's like, now we have this Bourbon Street.
Yeah, because they've abbreviated it.
Yeah, he's like,
BRBN Street.
when the street had vowels, it was so much more, and like they had like taxis, like a full taxi in the middle, and like fountains and stuff. And I'm like, I kind of remember that. I definitely remember the streetscapes above with the balconies and stuff, and it was
Yes, I
really
remember that
cool.
one.
And the twinkling lights.
Oh yeah.
And now, like, I walk down there every day, obviously, and I'm just like, well, it's nice, and the restaurants are great, and like awesome venues. They have the comic strip there, but that was cool.
I miss West Ed what it was when we were growing up.
Yeah.
Stuff.
Yeah.
It's now too sanitized.
Yes.
It's too modern, if you will. And I understand why you're going that way, but even like Galaxyland with all those characters that they used to have, and like it was
Professor
Cosmo
Wem.
and all of that. Yeah.
Cosmo.
And now it's sponsored by Hasbro and there's all those things, which is cool.
That's
but
great.
it wasn't what it was, but like the dragon in the
Yes.
movie theater.
Oh, and it breathed fire.
And when they had the water shooting from the fountains that would shoot up.
Yeah.
Like all that stuff was really cool as a kid, and it made West Ed just so amazing.
The one food court, correct me if I'm wrong, Will, but it had like a waterfall.
Yes, it was
Yeah.
by the London Drugs one, by the ship and stuff. They
Yeah.
had, and you could walk by it and you could sit by it, and they'd always have to like close parts of it off to dry it off or
Yes,
something
they did.
to clean it. But
Yes,
because
they
people
did.
would come and as a kid, you go touch the
You're
water
like,
as it's shooting
"Ah!"
across, and then it
Yeah.
sprays everywhere.
Yeah.
But you're so excited because you're a kid that hey, look at what I mean, you know.
It's the cost coefficient of
Yes.
everything, right? So it used to be that like you had a flagship mall in your city, and that's where all of your flagship businesses needed to be. And what's happened is you've had South Edmonton Common open up,
Yes.
and it's all outlet stores, and people just want to drive, right?
Yeah.
Like the idea of walking through the world's biggest mall, honestly.
It's taxing.
There is a generation out there that just doesn't walk anymore.
Yeah.
And it's all of ours, right? Like
Yeah.
it's every
Well,
generation. Like
And also, like as a kid, you love it. When you grew up in this city, like Dusty still loves West Ed, but he didn't grow up here.
right.
Yeah.
Like he wasn't. It wasn't something that he was around all the time. So for I think local Edmontonians,
Well, and so
you go to Kingsway or you go somewhere else. That became your mall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I go to West Ed because there's something specific I need there, or
Yeah.
like when it's that treat once every couple months. You'll go there. But if I need to go to a mall, I'm going to Kingsway, or I'm going to if I'm by Southgate or something. I'm going to Southgate. That's where West Ed is fully.
but
turned
all of
into.
those malls have taken a step back because it's a classic case of we need to do more with less.
Right.
Right. And because they can't charge as much for their tenants. Because,
like
because
Kingsway
their
still.
tenants just look at it and be like, well, we'll go to a strip mall. Like
Yeah.
we'll go and set up shop next to whatever big box store is out there. And so that's part of it is it's just they just don't have as much money as they used to be able to throw at it. They used to have like you guys are way too young for this. They used to have a zoo in that mall.
Okay, I remember seeing like
don't remember
peacocks
the
and
zoo.
flamingos
Yeah.
in
Flamingo
the middle of
was
the mall.
by-
They had bears.
What?
They had bears
I do not
in
remember
that
the
mall.
zoo.
They had monkeys in that mall.
Wow.
Like
Well, they have sloths
in
now.
the middle, right? Like
Sloths?
Sloths.
Oh, sloths. But they have
probably-
bears and monkeys.
Oh, yeah.
Sloths are neat and
I
everything.
know, but it's where the brick
like,
used to be. I think
Now-
I think they're still.
I'd
there.
like to see
now
a
listen,
bear.
I'm glad that they don't. It's cruel to put
Oh,
animals in the middle of a mall.
Yeah.
You shouldn't do that. They
But the
probably all
dolphins
die
were
from
also
stress.
The
right?
dolphins were also really cool.
Yeah,
I understand you
exactly.
should do that.
You should not have dolphins.
But
like,
watching the two dolphins as a kid just
Right.
leap up and into there, like, whoa, that's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Like,
oh no, that like
apparently we don't care about sea lions.
in
though.
They're the
in the
mutts of
late
the ocean.
80s. That place was a no holds barred like whatever you can think of. Yeah, let's do it.
It was a
right?
fiesta, man.
Yeah.
But I kind of remember a little bit of the old, like the original in its glory days. And then I definitely remember the 90s, early 2000s. And now I'm just like, yeah, it's super nice, but
It's cool. It's fine.
I was just looking around Bourbon Street
It's
when I was
exactly
there.
what it is. It's
fine.
fine.
It's fine.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna rip it.
Yeah.
But it's not. It doesn't bring
not
back
the
the same
experience.
memories
Right.
as it used to be.
Yes.
And people are missing out.
Yeah.
Lieutenant Eric in the nasty chat saying Westmount greater than all of them. He spent some time at the Spitties. I remember when there was the hockey rink they added in there.
Yeah.
They put that, in
was a
there.
nice
There was
rink.
a movie theater and stuff,
Yeah.
wasn't there? I was there last year. I walked it quickly. It gets very quick to walk.
Sure.
Yes.
But they have a great.
You're usually being chased.
They have a great music. Well, they had a great little like movie music store that had records and CDs and comics and all that. And I was like, this is a great spot. I picked up a couple of records while there because they were really cheap. It was wonderful. I need to go back there.
Of course, because they were cheap.
Well,
Like that was
you
your
wanna know something? I
The
started.
beat is for a bargain.
I
No.
found a really
No, they were
great
good records.
limited edition. Like
No, 100%. They were
Prices
good
were
records,
unreal.
but they're also good prices. I started getting into the record collecting or buying them again.
You're the
like
reason
10
we
years
can't
ago.
have anything
No.
nice.
Well, like 10 years ago.
Value engineered everything.
Have you seen the prices these days?
Oh my! In this economy,
Well, no. I started buying records probably about 10 years ago or so.
Yeah.
And things were really like you could go buy new vinyl for like 20, 25 bucks. Now they're costing like $50.
Oh my God.
I'm not paying 50. Screw that. I'll go to find the cheap ones. I'll go to places, find used ones for $5, $10.
Go to the library, man.
They don't give me vinyls.
Demand it.
I want vinyls. I love my vinyls. They're great. But I'm not paying $50
Like
for
you
a brand
want to
new
be
record.
pretentious, but you don't want to pay
It's
to
not
be
pretentious.
pretentious.
It's a better sound. I just like it. No,
The
there's
most
something.
pretentious thing to say. I love it.
There's something
It's
very-
a better sound. There's more warmth to it.
It's just
I don't
so
know.
natural.
There's something beautiful about throwing a vinyl on
shut
and
up.
pressing, playing it. I'm not paying $50
Not
for
paying
a damn vinyl.
$50 to be pretentious.
No. I'm going to the garage
I've
sale.
got Spotify for a reason.
Yeah.
I don't need this. I don't need the CD. I don't need any of that. Just get me the vinyl,
That's right.
and I'll be happy. But let me do it at a cheaper price. Otherwise, I'm going to keep paying my $10.49 or whatever it is a month, including GST to Spotify, and I'll just press play on that one.
All right. You're a man trapped between two worlds, it seems.
I'm more than okay with that.
That's what you get when you mix Ukrainian and Italian,
That's a good point.
right?
Yeah.
You
Cheap
get-
or frugal? Which one is it?
Well, you get
Well, I
the
call my dad's
Ukrainian,
frugal.
and then you get the Italian, who's like, I need the perfect little Vespa-esque type of life.
Well, my dad's Italian and he's quite frugal, but he likes the finer things.
sure he does.
He'll splurge where he needs to.
That's the thing. You find the vinyl records aren't something I'm going to splurge on.
Yeah.
I need them cheaper.
Well,
But I'll
but
splurge on something else.
I bet you he just buys quality, is what it is.
My
He just-
dad?
yeah, he just doesn't buy a lot.
When he's not buying 6 o'clock or lager, he buys flats of brewhouse beer. Like,
I love Brewhouse.
and I was like, you're in your late 60s, you're retired.
I guess
You're
somebody
doing-
has to.
I'm like, yeah.
I did it through COVID for the Bell
Treat
Building.
yourself.
yeah.
Oh,
Drink good beer.
it is good beer. I stand by that. $22
God.
for 15.
But coming from everything we just heard from you, I'm not surprised to hear this.
Yeah. Just
It's a fine beer.
I'm-
drink
it works
drink
great.
better beer less.
You're
Both
drinking the
things-
value? Is that what satisfies
No, it tastes.
you?
I think it actually tastes good.
Oh, it's depression beer. You get
It's
headaches.
a perfectly. No, I don't get any of those.
My
That
uncle-
was my go-to beer for the Bell Building through COVID. Every week I'd get a case of Brewhouse. Well, every Friday because we need it that day, and I'd go around and everyone took the Brewhouses and everyone was happy, and I was happy. And
All
then
I
whatever
know-
was left over, we drank on the Monday or the Tuesday.
You can get a
Yeah.
4-pack of 6 o'clock or lager for $12.99 right now.
During
100%.
COVID, my neighbor and I did do
But-
the like best bang for buck beer.
What was it?
We went through a lot,
Pabst.
and so it was actually President's Choice Light.
Really?
Actually, I've heard their beers are good. I haven't had enough.
President's
President's
Choice
Choices.
Light was the best bang.
This is
for
like a
buck.
Costco vodka thing, a Kirkland
Right.
Sig.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
Oh,
and also Rainier,
Rainier beer.
the third beer in.
Really? I used to remember those commercials.
You have to make it
Rainier
through the
beer.
first two, and number 3 tastes pretty good.
What about Old Milwaukee?
Well, Milwaukee's just like, to me, that's the same as getting a bud.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like I have no I have
I'll
no
drink
problem.
it.
Exactly,
No
right?
qualms.
Like you
Yeah.
know exactly what you're getting.
Yeah.
and that's the thing about Brewhouse. I mean, it's a tried and true. It's fine.
No.
and it's like, but during COVID, when I have a building to get beer for, there was no 6 o'clock or lager too. I can't just get a bunch of 6 o'clock or lagers for all the people that are in that building. I was taking care of our fellow coworkers.
Sure you were.
Oh, 100% was. Jess bought me a little. Do you know that Michael Scott World's Best Boss mug?
Yeah.
She bought that for me at one point during COVID.
Shocking.
It's very nice.
Because
of
she's
Jess.
a sweetheart.
Yeah. Well, I looked at. I took care of.
And that
people.
was-
And
That
you're
was-
basically Michael
That
Scott.
was a
I took
cry
care
for
of
her to please start buying real beer.
I don't think so.
Yes.
I think everyone was actually
didn't
pretty
get the
happy with
hint.
that one because we also then still had the soap. Did we have Soapy Safeway liquor during that? Yes, eventually we did. We did have that going. God of Grind says vinyl is coming to the library. The Milner is going to run a pilot. Saw the tracks yesterday. Project will be announced soon. 500 titles to start. Saw the racks.
There you go.
I live right by there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go check that. Johnny Jasno also says Blue was 18 for $18 back when all the NHL logos were on the caps.
Labatt Blue.
Yeah.
See, I'd even tolerate that over
Oh really? I can't.
Brewhouse.
I cannot do Labatt, and I really can't do Molson anymore.
I can't do Molson. I've never enjoyed Molson.
Yeah.
If they're a sponsor, I can do it no problem.
Sure you can.
Yeah, but we don't need them. We got 6 o'clock or lager and Alley Cat. We don't need any of their beer. Screw Molson.
Let's strike that from the record. I'll tell you.
got
I'll
Alley
tell
Cat.
you why
I'm good.
later.
I'm good. Oh.
Strike that from the record.
The record's not vinyl, says Pat. And I'm with Matt on this. Vinyl is superior, but it's been priced out, Matt the Framer. Boom.
Matt, that's the point.
What is?
That it's priced out.
No, it wasn't. But back when I used to buy them, it was only 20, 25 bucks.
It is not an efficient way to collect music.
No.
So it needs to be of higher price to justify why you would own it in the first place.
No, before it used to be 20, 25 bucks when not a lot of people bought it. Now
Right.
everyone wants to buy it
Sure.
because everyone got on board with it
Sure.
and it went up in price.
Yeah, that's right.
How in
supply
God's
and demand.
green earth does a needle on a piece of vinyl sound better than a laser or
it's not perfect.
the legitimate digital recording
Because it's
in
not
the
perfect.
Because when you go into digital, there is a floor. There's a floor and a ceiling to your peaks and valleys.
and not on vinyl
No,
on a 100-year-old technology?
no, because it's completely analog. There's a
I am
difference
not
between
buying
analog
this.
and digital.
Digitally, like they do have to just be also size wise.
Yeah.
CDs are MP3s generally,
But we're not-
and MP3s
those
are
years are
wave
well
form.
beyond it. We're
but
gone.
MP3s and wave format, like wave is a bigger, it's a better file.
Yeah.
You don't lose stuff in it, but they can't put that on CDs because you can't fit that many tracks in.
But we're not putting it on
It's just
CDs here.
MP3.
We're talking about the
But
digital
then-
files.
Well, then, but also with those
Unlimited megabytes.
on Spotify, not everyone changes their setting properly. Most settings on Spotify for people is a lower quality.
That's their own fault.
Well, I don't think
It's
most people know
why-
about it or something.
It's why nerds talk about a feeling
Well, I don't care about
and
that.
not what they hear.
It's not that. It's,
Because the ceiling and the floor
Yeah.
are actually outside of your auditory range. So you can't actually hear them clipping the tops or
Right.
the bottoms.
Right.
But there is a world in which you could say you could actually feel that lack of wave.
there's a warmth to
Nerd
it for me
alert.
with
This
vinyls.
is why they say
No,
it
it's-
feels warm.
there's that crackling of it
It's
and all of that.
crackling.
It's just,
Well, if there's crackling, you've not taken care of your vinyl.
well, I've bought old vinyls. I've bought used vinyls.
Get a brush, man. Come on. You're either committed to this or not.
I'm just
Is
kidding.
the
I
brush
just wanna-
too
what the hell's
expensive?
going on
I just
here?
want to
Is
press
the brush
I,
too expensive?
I don't
You
care
dipping
at
your
that
toe
point.
in and not going all in.
I
like,
just
let's go.
like playing it and putting it in. I go buy my
I can't
used
believe
records,
you're not.
and they are what they are. I'm
can't
okay
believe
with
you're
that.
not pre-cleaning your records before you play them.
I don't need to do it. I don't need to go all that way. I just want to
I
own
guess
records.
he's not legitimate.
Yeah.
I don't. I'm
You're
not
being
trying
called
to be
out by the
legitimate.
legit vinyl nerds.
Yeah,
I don't care.
Vinyl nerds are gonna be
Also,
like, you don't pre-clean your
Rip City
vinyl?
Step says there's an interview with Conan and Neil Young where he explains the.
Well, the loss of audio and all that with digital, like Neil Young hates the digital stuff.
Neil Young hates a
he's
lot of things,
100% he
man.
does.
He's old man yelling at cloud now.
Yeah, he
old
is.
man,
He
look
is.
at my
Actually,
life.
yeah.
I'm a lot
there's-
like, yeah, he's become that old man he was talking
There's
about.
Sound City documentary of
Yeah.
Dave Grohl when they bought the board from
Yeah.
where they created a bunch of records at Sound City that many people have gone through. That does a good job of explaining just how things have changed in music.
Yeah.
Really good doc.
Pat in the county says warmth comes from the shitty signal. I love this.
I'm okay with that. Do whichever you guys
So
want.
bottom line is vinyl meh. Bring back Old West Edmonton Mall. Let's get bears in cages in the middle of the mall. Let's get dolphins back in that pool. And let's bring back the statues on Bourbon Street.
And Molson's great.
Nobody's. Yes.
And are we forgetting?
Actually, I will say this.
And
about the-
bring back the submarines.
Oh, the submarines were awesome. I got to go on them.
I will say, even just, I don't know why they got rid of them just from the water, too. Like, I know they weren't operationally important. Just leave them in the water.
What infuriates me is that they now have like the swan boats in there.
Yeah.
But they don't let you actually go
Around the.
around the
You can't go the whole thing.
You can't
Yeah.
go the
There's
whole
a certain
thing.
part of
Like
it.
they've knocked off the best part.
Yes.
Like the only reason you would want to pay money to be in a paddle boat in that place is to do the whole thing.
Yes.
Like
Remember they used to have divers that could do scuba down there?
yeah,
A couple. One of them
they
got
keep
sucked
dying.
into the
yeah. they kept getting trapped.
I love the stories whenever you see it on the socials, wherever it's that guy who jumps in.
Yeah.
Just because you're like, that's not smart.
Don't do
Yeah,
that.
you know, there's a lot of fluid
It's-
being sucked down the
Yeah.
bottom
Well,
of that.
and
Man.
then there's it's cold, and there's no real easy way to jump out.
No.
So then you start panicking
Although,
and stuff, and it's
I am
just
not-
it's a terrible idea.
I am not condoning this. I have seen a couple people on social media that have jumped in and found a spot to swim out. I will not say where. I do not want to
because
see
you
it.
don't want to.
I don't want to
encourage
condone.
it?
Do not do this.
Oh man.
But yeah, I remember doing the submarine ride. We got to go there for a field trip in second or third grade. It was awesome. The underground zoo, like the aquarium, was pretty cool. And then we got to go on the submarine, and it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that.
I say turn the whole thing into salt water and just let the sharks go.
Go for it. Let them rip.
How much would you pay to hand feed a shark?
Both hands.
I'd pay with both my hands.
Yeah.
Zacta comes in the nasty chat.
Uh-oh.
Now, digital and CDs have worse audio quality. Nowadays, with new vinyls as well, they take those MP3 recordings and print it onto the record rather than directly recording to the vinyl like before. Records also have character, and it's cooler how it works too. Ha ha.
This is coming from the 20-year-old.
Who actually knows this music a little bit?
Nerds.
I will say that.
I mean, that's
Also,
fine.
Lieutenant Eric
there's
does
a
like
lot of
metal
money
walk, too.
in nerd culture nowadays.
Yeah, not from me.
Yeah, exactly. Clearly not from you.
Not for me. I still go cheap. That's how you keep prices lower. It's the boycott. Boycott Loblaws.
Well, just use the library, man. I'm a big proponent of the library. I don't know why
the
more people
library is
don't.
great. You could get a lot of magazines from the library.
Well,
You
not
could
just
get-
that, but
you could
like,
get your newspaper from the library.
like they also have an app that you can connect to your library card that allows you to get like
it's ebooks.
digital movies, ebooks,
Well, but that's
and
what I'm saying.
audiobooks.
The
Like,
magazines and newspapers you could just get through the library
Yeah.
on your phone every day. You could actually wake up and read the Journal or the Sun or any other newspaper. Most
right.
other
By having
newspapers
a
in North
library
America.
card?
It's
Yeah.
just having a library card and you connect to it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
And you don't even
smart.
have to pay for that. And then there's magazines. Like I've got a couple soccer magazines.
I mean,
and a
you
couple
do
of other
pay
ones.
for it. It's part of your taxes.
Yeah, sure.
And just not enough people actually.
But you don't have to do the
use
full
it.
subscription or anything, and then you could get the ebooks or actually just go on that Milner Library downtown. It's beautiful.
It's incredible.
Nice.
It's really nice. to
I'm
get.
glad they cleaned that up because it was getting a little nasty.
They have an incredible piece of art on their second floor, but whoever designed it didn't talk to the people who did all the lighting. So it's all this like drop lighting everywhere that literally covers up, like obstructs your view of the artwork on the wall. It's one of those ones where you're like, I bet the artist is so pissed. Like, like it's come in and it's like, are you kidding me right now? Like, why would you do this?
It's such a weird looking building now because before it was just a standard like 6-story whatever. And now you're like, what is that? Like a metal tank right outside of City Hall. And as long as the inside's nice and it's functional
beautiful
and
inside.
has.
There's a lot to do in there.
And the old one, I know they're having some trouble with some of the people coming in and staying and sleeping.
Well, they still have that, but
Doing
you're going to find
narcotics.
that in any major city, right? Like, it's going to be downtown.
Yeah, my parents were just in Montreal. Apparently, someone who was enjoying a high was chasing people around buildings. Classic.
That's how you get your cardio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You get your steps in.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Did you record the workout? Yeah. If you don't record it, it didn't happen.
Oh, God. Good times. So there's a hockey game tonight.
This is the EST Hangout presented by Two Hoots Hard Ice Tea. Matt Iwanyk, Wil Fraser, Tom Gazzola with you here. As Tommy did mention, Oilers game tonight. GCLD's Oil Stream pre and post game show. Bourbon Street, West Edmonton Mall, 5 o'clock. You're not
Say
on
it
the-
right.
Bourbon. Not on location on Saturday, but on Monday you will be at Hudson's White Ave. So tonight, West Edmonton Mall, Monday, White Ave. Those are the two games we know that Tommy will be on location for this series. We'll
Yes.
wait to see how the series progresses
Yes.
and let you know other places that Tommy might be at Hudson's throughout these. Yeah, I didn't want to read that one. Or do you want to?
I kind of do.
Sure. Why don't
Is that
Because
okay?
before you said you didn't know if you wanted to promote this, but go for
No,
it.
no,
then.
but this is like way back
Yeah,
when.
okay.
Yeah, I'll let Phrase read it. Last one there.
I've jumped off the second floor into the water by the boat, was able to climb out and ran out where the theater is now, but was Woolworths back then. I was 17 then, now 48, all for $10.
Nice.
Second floor
People
jump
now
in.
are like, what the hell's Woolworths? Good, we'll leave it at that.
Woolco.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of people down that didn't help.
What is that? Yeah.
They didn't go from Woolworths with Woolco and go, oh, yeah.
Well, Woolworth was a department store, and Woolco was the first big box version of a department store.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I miss Sears.
$1.49 days at Woolco. Trust me, I had to follow my mother around a lot of Woolcos.
Me
back in
too.
the day. Yeah.
Yeah. Eaton's, Woolco, The Bay,
Yeah.
Sears.
Sears,
Woodwards.
Woodwards.
Yeah.
I remember some of them used to have like their little cafes.
Yeah, that's
you'd be
right.
like, I'm kinda
Little
hungry.
commissaries. Yeah. Not anymore.
No. Lots of styrofoam containers back then.
Yeah.
Oh, back to West End, 97 Octane Hockey. Bring back the bungee jump to the water park, too.
That was cool.
That was,
Scared
also,
the
they
living
had
crap out
the
of me,
driving
but-
range at the top.
Oh yeah,
Outside.
that's right.
They had
They had
the
the
driving
range.
range is the bigger one, where I'm like, why do you not have a driving range
Yeah,
here?
that was on the roof.
Yeah, it was.
That's right.
There was a driving range, and they have the zip line now instead of the bungee cord. That's the difference.
That'd be fun.
Also, no mind bender anymore.
They put something new in there, right?
But it's not going to be like a
Not
similar
mine.
roller coaster or something.
My uncle, when they were renaming it from Fantasyland to Galaxyland, they were having name the thing. He's like, why don't they call it Fatality Land?
Dark, dude.
So dark.
Your uncle
Awful.
probably enjoyed Dustin's JFK takes
He was
this morning.
probably howling. And I text Dusty, I'm like, you killed it. And he's like, you're sucking up. I'm like, it was a pun, you idiot.
Yeah, exactly. You're sucking
The
up.
best thing of all that was the moment Will said, I thought you were going to tell me you just learned about this. And I immediately was like, actually, I can see that.
tracks. Yeah.
That is 100%
Yeah.
where that could have
It was-
easily have gone.
My entire life with Dusty has always been like, guys, did you hear about how they've taken sugar out of soda? Like, like, do you mean Diet Coke, Dustin? Yeah. Like, how long has this been around? Now I'm exaggerating, but it would be something like that every week, where you would just be like, "What are you talking?" Like,
when you guys were going to Cuba,
yeah.
he learned about a lot of things about Cuba, and he was very scared to go on the trip for a period of time because he's
right.
like,
Bam pigs.
we're like, jeez.
Yeah, that's right.
Don't read up on this right now,
civilization.
Dusty.
Did you
Just
know-
don't read this.
Did you know there's communism in Cuba?
Really? Since when?
I'm thinking this Fidel Castro guy's a pretty bad dude.
Yeah. Oh, we don't like him.
Yeah.
It's all said with love.
Yeah, but yeah. So when he was knocking off JFK references, I was like, "There's a good
It's well
chance
done.
he just learned about JFK."
I'm glad you brought up the 6th floor depository because, like, during my travels when I worked
the
at
book
Oilers
depository,
TV,
man.
phenomenal museum.
talked about that a lot, too.
Phenomenal museum. Great. I spent a few hours there. What's eerie is that road that goes by the grassy knoll under the underpass by the 6th floor book depository, 6th floor museum book depository. They have X's on the spots where JFK was hit.
Yeah, man. Listen,
On the road.
If that country does one thing well, it's assassinate their presidents and then commemorate it,
Yeah. But like, there's
or attempt to assassinate. Like Reagan got shot.
Yeah.
Roosevelt, Teddy Roosevelt,
Yeah, he
got
got
shot
shot.
and then did a speech with the bullet still
Oh
inside
my
of
God.
him. Yeah.
Did he do it alone based on being there?
I don't think so.
Did he do it alone? Yeah, probably.
Also, I was talking to Jack Michaels about that when we were there in Dallas, and I went to the museum, and he's like, "Buddy, it was an inside job," and I was like, "Wow."
Like,
It was Ted Cruz, wasn't it? It was his dad.
This is that, but he was in Calgary at the time, was he not?
Don't remember.
Ted Cruz was
I
born in
just know
Calgary.
Ted
not
Cruz's
a good,
father.
not a good guy to be proud of if you're from Calgary.
I don't think Calgary brings it up that much.
Yeah, I don't think so.
It's just, it's
I can remember when he was first elected senator, there was a
That
bit of a
little,
buzz, like, "Hey, one of our own's now a senator." And then they saw like 2 interviews with the guy, and they're like, "I think we'll keep that on
Yeah,
the
you
down
can
low."
stay. You're Texas guy. Yeah, you're a piece of crap. Yeah.
You don't seem like a great dude, so
You seem like a weasel.
Yeah, there's a lot of different stories around JFK in that one. Seinfeld did it great.
Yeah.
That whole with the gum, the
into
spit.
the
Was it
line.
just spitting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just the spit.
It was- yeah.
And then they broke it down the film and all
That's
of that.
one,
It was
Magic Loogie.
such an amazing episode. The way
What was it? Nice game, pretty
pretty boy. Yeah.
Keith Hernandez.
Yeah, it was Keith Hernandez in the bushes.
Yeah.
and then they helped him move.
No, it wasn't Keith Hernandez. Who was it in the bushes? It was one of the other players in the bushes that did it. Yeah, I can't remember what it was.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
But it was Keith Hernandez who got.
yeah, who got hit?
Yeah.
And then it was nice game, pretty boy. And then eventually they helped him move because
Yeah.
Jerry didn't want to help him move.
Yeah.
And they immediately jumped in and helped him move. I'm back on a Seinfeld kick right now.
It's sports related.
Well, it's just still fun.
It all
There's
ties
lots
together.
of
I'm
stuff.
never
It's-
off a Seinfeld.
Well, it's
kid.
like I'll watch them all, and they'll be on. And they're on so much during the day, and I'll watch
Yeah.
them for like a couple months, and then you kind of seen most of the episodes again, so you stop, and then
Yeah.
take a few months
That
off.
is the-
Then you come back on, and you're like, this is a great episode, and you just keep watching.
That
it
is
again.
the best way to watch Seinfeld. Like I really don't like it on streaming. I hate like choosing an
Yeah.
episode.
Oh,
yes.
I like it far better to arrive at it 5 minutes in.
Yes.
And then spend 5 minutes going, is this the one? And then be really pleased with yourself that you know all the beats to it.
Spinning the
that.
wheel.
Was it yesterday?
Yeah.
I think yesterday might have been when he bought his dad a Cadillac.
Yeah.
And the one where they didn't have the...
Jerry, we've seen your act.
There was the shower head.
Oh, yeah.
Low
There's
pressure
no
and
way
all that.
And he's
that
cooking
you
in his...
can afford a Cadillac.
No. Not when he's cooking. When they had low pressure showers and their cameras are flat and stuff.
Yeah.
And then that's the episode where Jerry's going on the show and he's got Kathy Griffin, her characters on, and
Supposed to bring the
he had to bring the
barbecue
wedding
sauce.
present, and he had to take care of it. And it was the doormat.
Yeah.
And then it was the barbecue
Yeah,
sauce, and
that's right.
she brought in and
The
brought
wrong
the wrong
barbecue.
one.
Yeah.
And then there's the three tenors. Like
It looks just like Charles Grodin. Charles Grodin? Whatever.
Grodin.
Grodin. Charles.
Yeah.
That's who it
From
was.
Beethoven.
Yeah, that's right.
And then
Charles
George's
Grodin.
dad
Yeah.
builds the billiard room.
Yeah.
In George, where it's too
the
small,
maestro
but then they're
stick.
using the maestro stick.
And they're not wearing pants because they don't want the creases.
Yeah. Kramer, this table's mine.
It took 3 hours for the first game because he came up and was like, "You're still playing? It's still game one."
So good. Ontario moms texting in. I remember my mom and a group of moms almost fist fighting this dude in Woolco because he was buying all the Power Rangers figures.
Power Rangers. See, I'm old enough to remember the Cabbage Patch Kid frenzy.
Oh, right.
And there was straight up fist fights that happened because of Cabbage Patch Kids.
Yes.
The one I remember as a kid was the Furbies.
Furby
The
was
Furby
huge,
phrase
yeah.
was massive.
Yeah. And Tickle Me Elmo was the one after
Yeah.
that.
Now it's a little bit creepy. Tickle me Elmo.
Yeah, exactly. That did not hold up well.
No.
Yeah. That is a problematic toy.
I'm gonna give you a little tickle.
For a whole bunch of reasons, that's a problematic toy.
Oh, it was a different time.
Unwanted tickles is not I don't think we should be encouraging
Yeah,
this.
no. Why is that
wanted.
generation so handsy?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, they had Tickle Me Elmos.
Where they
Whoops.
were encouraged to just approach people and tickle them.
I gotta qualify someone right now
Yes.
for the Great Outdoors Comedy Festival.
Speaking of
Almost
unwanted
forget.
tickles.
Great Outdoors Comedy Festival, July 12th through the 14th, Kingsman Park. Alley Cat, the official beer of the Great Outdoors Comedy Festival, which will feature the 6 o'clocker lager. What a place to enjoy a beverage of the 6 o'clocker lager.
Yes.
Great outdoor setting, great laughs, great comedians. This is a VIP table for 4, which we'll give away on the morning show tomorrow. Completely sold out show on the Friday. Andrew Scholl, Shane Gillis. I should double check on how the tickets are going Saturday and Sunday. Saturday, Kevin Hart. Sunday, Burt Kreischer and Whitney Cummings. There's just a limited available for those shows. I don't know
That's
if
going to sell out pretty quick.
they will sell out.
Yeah.
I just don't know. I don't want to start saying go buy tickets if they are now sold out.
Right.
But the Friday is sold out. So this is one of the last chances to qualify to get that table, the VIP table for 4 to the Friday show. Let's do Bourbon Street. Bourbon Street. 780-218-9999. Text that in if you can figure out what we're saying there to 780-218-9999. And you'll go into a draw to win this VIP table for 4 to Andrew Schultz, Shane Gillis. July 12th at the Great Outdoors Comedy Festival, which we'll give away tomorrow morning. Announce the winner tomorrow morning on the morning show.
I have a recollection of old Bourbon Street before it became Bourbon Street.
Okay.
Oilers would have their practice there, right? And then the autograph
Once a
session.
year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they still do it.
They might.
I believe
I
they do.
didn't do one this year,
But
they did the autograph. They do the autograph session
Right,
there.
but they used to
big
have the
auto session.
practices there. And I went and I remember they had to put the net down because the glass is low at that rink. And someone mentioned how bad the ice is. It is terrible because of all the light that comes in and softens it up. But I remember going to the practice and I remember running for a puck that went over and it got to the netting and like 10 other kids went for it. I didn't get it, so I was sad. My parents bought me an ice cream.
Yeah.
Waffle cone. I, for whatever reason, remember this, and it was late in the autograph
baby.
session, and Craig Simpson was at his table, and my dad's like, "Do you want to get an autograph from Craig Simpson?" And I'm like, "I don't know," and he like petted my. He's like, "That's a nice hat." And how's your ice cream? And I was like, "It's good." And I got the card, and I think I didn't get too impressed by Craig Simpson because I was really into Mark Messier at the time.
Oh, I can remember Craig Simpson's time in Edmonton, and we had no appreciation.
Yeah.
For him. We just didn't get it.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
He was so good.
Because we had Jari Kurri, Wayne Gretzky, and even Mark Messier and Glenn Anderson, and the way that they were dynamic on the ice, we had no idea what Craig Simpson was doing in front of the net.
He was excellent.
And it's only when you look back now where you're just kind of like, holy cow, that guy stood in there. Like, and this is late 80s, early 90s hockey, where it was lumberjacks in front of the net.
And that's good wood that they were putting on his back. So Simpson, what did he have? He had 11 goals his first year, 26 his next, then the Paul Coffey trade. So he gets traded from Pittsburgh, where he scored 13 in 21 games, finished with 43 in Edmonton to give him 56 that season. 35, 29, 30, 24, 24, and then when his back was shot and he got traded to Buffalo, 8 and 4. Gager remembers he got a start in Buffalo. That was the night Hasek made that crazy flop save on Doug Weight.
Yeah.
And they didn't travel until the next day, so they had the night in Buffalo, and they were just having some drinks in the hotel.
What a place to have a night off.
What a place, yeah. And Craig was doing color commentary on the Buffalo broadcast because he just finished. He couldn't play anymore, so he was still around there. And he said that Gager said that Craig came over to have a couple beers with the guys because he obviously knew a bunch of the guys that he played with a couple years prior in Edmonton. And he couldn't sit down because his back was so
shot.
So he had to lean against the wall and like adjust and like do like little posture changes and stuff. And yeah, his career was cut short way too soon. And he was a very good player.
Yeah.
For a small window of time, a good 6 years.
Yeah.
7
When
years.
you talk about guys who are like, you got to just pay the price. Like,
And he did.
Craig Simpson figured it out.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
especially when he came to an Edmonton Oilers squad. Like, the Oilers suffer from this a little bit now as well. Like, you have some guys come in who don't look around and go, okay, what are they missing that I can do?
Right.
Like, Zach Hyman is the success that he is because he came into Edmonton and said, okay, what can I do that they're not doing?
Score greasy goals.
Score greasy goals, get pucks back.
Muck it down low.
Yeah. Like, and the way that he's just evolved every year to take even more advantage of what everyone else is giving. Like, hats off to him. And then other times you see guys come in and they don't realize the opportunities that are in front of them. Like, you see it on defense a lot, where it's just kind of like, you don't need to be a power play specialist.
Right.
You need to make smart plays. Like, that's it.
Right.
You need to make sure that when you hit the ice, you're making that clock run down and you're giving as few opportunities to the opposition. And it's better now than it ever has been. But there were years where you would just watch it and just be like, I don't get why you don't see the opportunity in front of you. You can be a part of a great moment, or you can worry about your career.
Yeah.
You can't do both. Like, your career will take care of itself if you establish what you do really well. Like, you look at the guys that play past age 35, and it's the guys that have established a really specific skill set.
Specialists.
Right?
Yeah.
The guys that when teams are making runs in the playoffs go, well, we need this because we're missing it. They go and get those guys. Like, Zach Hyman will play as long as he wants.
And as long as his body holds up, but he generally stays healthy.
He's an above average skater, right? So
it ain't pretty, but he skates.
Yeah, he's an above average skater as far as speed, as far as getting down the ice. He does not, like, you don't see them taking offsides because Zach Hyman can't get across the line, right?
No.
Like, he gets to where he needs to be. And that's a guy that, like, every team out there that has question marks about their power play will bring him into camp every year.
Yeah, that's fair.
Even if he's 39 years old, they'll be like, yeah, no, like, let's see. Let's see if even our young guys can learn something from him. Right. Like,
good point.
Adam Oates was the same way. Adam Oates was such a demon in the faceoff dot. Even when he couldn't skate anymore, teams were like, well, he doesn't lose draws, man. Like,
that's why they brought him in here.
Yes,
Jared
exactly.
became great after that, and a few other guys
That's
did.
right.
Cool guys are in the Nasty Chat. Our ice is good now, Tommy. You should come by, check it out sometime. $3 million renovation done in 2018.
Where's that?
I'm assuming West Ed.
At West Ed. Yeah.
What was it?
Their ice is better now.
Oh, yeah, I know they renovated it, but
He says you come on, try it.
I'd love to.
DNB, Spec had this, both of them. Chris Knobloch saying confirms same lineup for the Oilers tonight is Game 7 versus the Canucks.
Also, Henrik's not in.
No, still no Henrik.
Okay.
Nice. I noticed. Did you see my dad texted in?
I did
He
not.
corrected my story.
Okay.
Yeah, good thing he remembers because I was 4.
Yeah.
So he said you got Kevin Lowe's signed card that time at West Edmonton.
Oh my god.
So I didn't even want the sign.
You didn't want Kevin Lowe?
I didn't want Craig
He was my
McTavish's.
favorite Oiler when I was a
So
kid.
pardon me, I didn't want Craig Simpson's. Apparently, I was too into my ice cream.
Oh, I see.
He's like, you got Kevin Lowe's signed card that time. Well, I was a little dumb.
Oh, Kevin, I'd give money for that card today.
If I found it,
Oh,
I'd
man.
give it to you.
I had a Boston Pizza Kevin Lowe like poster,
Right?
like above my bed. That was my Oiler. Like,
That's cool. He was a good Oiler. He was really good.
well, he was just
It was the
he was
president of hockey
he
operations that
was
tarnished
so
his.
mean.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny we go it tarnished. Like he also took him to a Stanley Cup final.
Yeah.
Like there's
a
not a lot of GMs that get to say that.
True. He's a good man.
Yeah.
He's just a really good man.
Yeah, he's overly competitive.
I believe it.
It is his strength and his biggest weakness.
Yeah.
There are tales of the amount of laptops he went through.
Well, I did witness him kick a hole in the press box in Montreal in the wall. I did witness it. I believe a phone was thrown too.
Like they just understood that they needed to have many laptops already preloaded for Kevin.
Oh, is that laptop broken? I'll take
Yeah,
it. We need
exactly.
it. We need it in the prize box when Lowe's here.
And so I think that's part of why people were critical of him because he never wanted to lose.
Right. No, that's
He
fair.
was just ultra competitive.
Yeah.
Shout out to everybody who got Burbinst right. There's
Yeah.
so many people that texted in the proper one. And then to
There's a
those
mix
that,
of all Bourbon Streets
Yeah.
in there. They all went into the
To-
draw.
to
But
those
the
that wrote
ones
it
that
right.
nailed it, BRBNST.
yeah. It's
Burbinst
hilarious. Burbinst.
That feels like a company that wants a hashtag to start trending.
You know what, Fraser? I was thinking about this. When I was watching at the conclusion of Best Edmonton Mall's video on what is now
Yeah.
formerly Bourbon Street, I was like, there's gonna come a day where they're just gonna go back to that old style, the original
Yeah.
OG twinkling lights in the ceiling, the Mardi Gras look. It's just gonna go full circle.
I welcome it.
Me too.
As long as they bring back the dragon in the movie
Isn't
theater.
the dragon? It's still up there. It just doesn't.
No one
breathe
knows.
fire.
No,
Well, I think
no,
they
dragon's
took,
gone.
They took the
The
dragon.
dragon-
down.
No one knows
taken
where the
down?
dragon is.
Yeah.
That's
they
a story that no one knows actually where the
It's a
dragon
mystery.
went.
It flew
and Ty
away.
Jordan was big into he's big into the dragon. And he was hunting it down, trying to figure out where it is.
No way.
Yeah.
In Best Edmonton Mall's video on Bourbon Street, they sold all the statues, and some stayed local. I think he has one in his background actually of a guy playing tuba. But they got shipped out internationally apparently, which is too bad. So the dragon that breathed the fire is out there, but the tongue coming down the stairs
Yes.
is still there.
Yeah. The metal tongue
Okay.
is still
Doesn't
Gotcha.
make any sense.
Yeah.
It
There's
is
no
odd.
dragon anymore.
That is strange.
That
back the
dragon
dragon.
was insane.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
Like,
And you'd wait. Was it every 10 minutes or something? Or
yeah,
it
and
more
there was
than
that one spot along the stairway
where you could really feel it, and
Like,
it was close.
It would take your eyebrows off, man. Like
And you just feel that
when
heat as it
when
goes.
it was running full torque, like you could stand in one spot where you're like, well, this is clearly unsafe. Like,
You're at West Ed.
Once an hour. Once an hour. Bring it back. Once an hour showing. Be
Yeah.
great.
yeah, like 80s hair would not have done
Yeah,
well.
it would just light
Like
up.
just
I think the upkeep was too much.
oh,
That was the cost.
Yeah.
That was the biggest thing.
I
was
think
the
they
upkeep was
like
way
were
too much.
burning through natural gas like crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But let's bring it back.
Get
And while
that
we're at
stuff
it, bring back the Dolphins.
Yeah, and I want bears and peacocks and flamingos and every
and
endangered animal.
chimpanzees and-
Chimpanzees, yes.
Yeah. Any high functioning animal that feels pain and stress, let's put them
And
in a
on
mall.
the cusp of extinction.
Yeah.
Get it in there.
Do you want to make a prediction, Oilers Stars?
Well, I picked the Oilers to win the Stanley
that's right.
Cup.
So you gotta pick them to win the series.
So I have them picked to win the series. I'll say they do it in 6.
Do they split this or do they take 2 in Dallas to start?
I don't know.
I don't know, man. Like they've won game 1 in how many times? Like
but can
Twice in the last 7 years.
the good news is they can lose game 1.
Oh yeah, they're very good at it.
Like what we know about the Oilers is they can lose game one and it's going to be okay.
I also go with that. I'd like starting a series on the road if I'm a team, because you could ultimately they could lose 2 and it's still you haven't played home. It's tough, but you could easily win 2 at home. It's a 2-2 series. So
I guess
and if you just split and you take your care of business at home, all of a sudden you have a 3-1 series.
The big question mark is going to be weather in Texas. And so, like, if it's a heat wave in Texas, this could be very difficult for the Oilers.
Bad ice.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Vancouver apparently has bad ice too. We just learned that.
The worst. And then yesterday, Chris Kreider was talking about how bad the ice was at MSG. So
Yeah.
we're in the bad ice season. Although here,
That's humidity based. Too.
yeah,
Yeah.
here they pump humidity into the arena.
Yeah.
And they
with
also
misters.
pump the AC very high.
Oh, it's colder in there.
Yeah.
It's an ice box.
You're
Well,
not making
but-
a prediction?
I'll just say it goes 7, and I honestly have no clue who wins. A toss-up. Both teams are excellent. Both teams have pros and cons. It goes 7. Flip a coin. One of them.
I thought long and Dusty wants
Stars in
predictions. Man.
7.
Whoa!
You
I'm-
forced me.
Host of our pregame show takes
Yeah.
stars and
Yeah.
seven.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was leaning it too, but I gave it
I'll be bad guy for this
to
one.
you. Said
It's going to either go 7, 6, 5, or 4 games, and one of the 2 teams is going to win.
Oh, you're exhausted.
Oilers or the Stars are going to advance to the Stanley Cup
Vinyl
Finals.
sucks.
And it's going to
Vinyl
happen
sucks.
in 7
Holy
to 4
cow.
games. Somewhere in there, one of those teams is going to finish this off and
My
move
goodness.
on.
Oh my
I was right with the
God.
prediction last round, so I'm excited about this
Yeah.
one and see how it plays out.
Real proud of that, hey?
I'm extremely proud of that one.
Oh,
And
my
Dusty's
goodness.
not happy, and that's fine. Just because I was right last year, I said it was going to go 4 to 7 games with either the Oilers or Canucks winning. This one, it's going to be 7, 6,
yeah?
5, or 4 games. I'm gonna
Fantastic.
flip it around.
Oh my God.
And it's
Yeah.
going to be or the Oilers or Stars. One of those 2 teams will advance to the Stanley Cup Final.
I'll say this
It
about
could
the
be an
series.
exciting series. It could be a very boring series.
This is my
No,
prediction.
oh my
It could go either way.
This
you
is-
know, it could be a series where we
He's telling
watch
you to
it.
shut up over
This
this.
is-
It could be a series where we watch it like this is not great. Otherwise, we could be like this is a classic. I don't. That's my prediction.
Here's my prediction. Jake Ottinger will be the story of this series.
Or he might not be.
No, that's what I'm.
You know,
No. That's what I'm saying.
where we could go with
Jake
this.
Ottinger is either going to be the guy that is shutting down the Oilers, or the Oilers will have quote unquote solved Jake Ottinger. because-
Dusty gets. I love this. Dusty gets so pissed.
mad.
because it's not Artur Shilovs this
Right.
time. Like Artur Shilovs allowed 8 goals against in the final 2 games.
Yes.
when the series was in the balance, and walks away the hero of the series
With really poor numbers overall.
right.
Yeah.
Like and that's what the backup gets, right?
Yep.
Never gets blame, only gets praise, right? Whereas a Jake Ottinger, he's the undisputed, like he's one of the 3 best goalies still alive in the playoffs, and
Yep.
rightfully so.
Yep.
But if the Oilers get to him, as they can with some goalies, he'll be the story no matter what.
Up next will be the Lock Shop, Dusty and Huss. At noon, it's 2 guys and a goalie. I'm assuming Gager with Cass and Dusty. 1:30 today, I'm on Winnipeg Sports Talk with Huss to
Excellent.
talk about this series. I'll give him my grand prediction as well.
Don't
for
you
the whole
dare.
Winnipeg crowd.
Do not do that to Winnipeg.
Wow, so
Oh
Winnipeg
my
can hate
God.
you too.
Yeah.
We're
Wow.
also going to talk a little Canada soccer, which is going to be exciting.
Nice.
5 o'clock, GCL Diesel Oil Stream pre and post game
Where?
pregame show. Hudson's. Let me get
On?
there. Hudson's in West Ed on Boone Street.
Bourbon Street.
You'll also be there for the post-game show, Tommy. You, YTT, Matt Cassian, you guys got everything covered. For Game 1, you could also just tune in to EdmontonSportsTalk.com, tune in iHeartRadio, or here on YouTube. For all that coverage, that is, well, if you're here right now, they'll continue on. You could come back later at 5 o'clock for the pre-game show, and then after the game for the post-game show. Will, it's great having you in once again.
Oh, it's a pleasure, guys.
Then thanks for the boxing chat.
That was awesome.
great to start the hangout. On behalf of Tom, Will, I'm Matt. Thanks for tuning in to the EST Hangout presented by 2 Hoots Hard Ice Tea here on Edmonton Sports Talk, your clear choice for Edmonton sports. Like I said, Lock Shop coming up in just a few minutes. Don't go anywhere. Thanks for tuning in.
Let's go. There you go, right in front of the camera.
First-time guest, long-time listener, fan of the original draft commissioner.
Welcome to the EST Hangout presented by White Claw Hard Seltzer. The difference is clear. Matt Iwanyk, Tom Zola with here. Joining us today,